The wind howled, a mournful dirge across the snow-covered peaks, the sound echoing the turmoil within the young man's heart. "Fool!" A voice, laced with contempt, cut through the biting wind. "Did you think you could escape the inescapable encirclement?" The young man, cornered and wounded, could only offer a pained cough in response. "Kook! Where is the ancient relic hidden?" The voice pressed, relentless. The young man chuckled humorlessly. "Idiot!" he retorted, a defiant glint in his eyes. "Would you just tell that to others if you were me?" The question hung in the air, unanswered, as the captor's face contorted in rage. "You arrogant bastard," he roared. "Forget it. We need to contact the main squad first." He barked orders into a communication device. "We've got the Northern Phantom. Please confirm our coordinates." A robotic voice replied, "Coordinates confirmed. We'll be there soon." The captive, known as the Northern Phantom, was a thorn in their side. "You're so damn persistent," one of the captors sneered. "I can't believe you're still hanging in there even though your arm's been cut off." He paced restlessly. "But why is the Northern Phantom also after the relic that the Emperor is after?" Another chimed in. "What reason could he possibly have? He's just trying to be annoying. We've suffered for so many days because of him." The first captor growled, his eyes gleaming with malicious intent. "We need to have some fun with him before the main squad gets here, so we can pay him back for the hardships we've gone through." A sinister silence descended, broken only by the Phantom's ragged breathing. "You better brace yourself, Northern Phantom," one of them threatened, his voice dripping with venom. "We won't be stopping until you're desperately begging us to kill you." "Let's decide on who starts first," another suggested, eager to begin the torment. "We don't have much time." "All right then." The first captor flipped a coin. "I'm going first if it's heads," he declared, his eyes fixed on the spinning coin. The Phantom, despite his pain and exhaustion, managed a weak, defiant smile. "I will not," he vowed, his voice barely a whisper. "Let this end with me not being able to do anything about it." A surge of power, visible even to his captors, pulsed within him. He was Zeke Draker, the first failed awakener of the Draker household. Born into the great Dragonslayer household with a body that couldn't use aura, he had failed to awaken, a disgrace for a knight. Treated as trash and chased out of his household, he had done everything he could to become stronger and survive. "If all you pursue is strength, then you'll have nothing in the end," someone had once told him. The coin landed. "Such bullshit," Zeke thought, a bitter smile playing on his lips. "Sweet. It's heads," his captor shouted, gleeful. "Is only said by those who are strong," Zeke mused, his eyes glowing with an eerie light. "Those who are weak will be trampled on by the strong, and what belongs to them will be stolen." He spat out blood, the taste metallic and familiar. "That is the truth of this world." He struggled to rise, his body screaming in protest. "Tisk." He stumbled, his vision blurring. "Guess I won't be able to escape." "WH what?" One of the captors stammered, witnessing Zeke's sudden burst of power. "Did he just attach his arm back? An irregular? How gross." Another commented, unfazed. "Whatever the case, he'll probably die if we cut his head off." With renewed determination, Zeke charged, his movements fueled by desperation and a power he didn't fully understand. He slashed through his enemies, a whirlwind of motion amidst the falling snow. But it wasn't enough. One by one, they fell upon him, their blades finding their mark. "Damn it!" he cursed, his body riddled with wounds. He coughed, blood splattering the pristine snow. "Looks like," he gasped, his vision fading. "I'll be dying soon." A strange calmness settled over him. "Even though I couldn't take my revenge," he thought, "I was able to steal the relic that the Emperor was after. I guess I did achieve something after all." He clutched the ancient relic, its surface pulsing with a strange energy. "Sorry," he whispered, a single tear tracing a path through the blood on his cheek. "Alicia." The relic pulsed again, bathing him in a blinding light. "Your strong will can awaken an ancient power." A voice, ancient and powerful, echoed in his mind. "The soul of an elder dragon is engraved upon the will of the one who persists." An urgent measure has been activated. The voice continued, its tone devoid of emotion. "Zeke Draker, do you agree? I'm hearing random nonsense now that I'm about to die." Zeke thought, his consciousness slipping away. "Do you agree?" the voice repeated, insistent. "Quiet down. Do as you please." Zeke relented, too weak to argue. "The Awakener's agreement has been confirmed." The voice declared. "An irreversible, promised power is being activated. The countdown has started." A numerical countdown appeared before his closing eyes. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and then darkness. When Zeke opened his eyes again, he was no longer on the snowy battlefield. He was in a bed, in a room he vaguely recognized. Did I go back to the past? He wondered, touching his face, his youthful, unscarred face. This is so hard to believe. He could still feel the phantom pain of the swords in his stomach. He looked around the room, a sense of déjà vu washing over him. And I thought this place felt familiar, he murmured, recognizing the insignia on the walls. This is the Cradle. The Draker Household Training Institution, the Cradle. The Draker household was one of the 3 great transcendent households, descendants of the hero Terrican Draker, who had saved the continent from the evil dragon Bahamut 1,000 years ago. The Draker bloodline was blessed with the ability to awaken high-level aura and become knights. A legacy passed down through generations. All except for him. The administration system is restarting. A voice, the same one from before, echoed in his mind. He looked around, startled. Did I mishear that? The soul of the Awakener has been confirmed. The voice continued. The soul of the Awakener being 100% aligned has been confirmed. The soul of the chosen Awakener having received the will of the Elder Dragon and being merged completely has been confirmed. You have obtained authority to a part of the system. Nice to meet you, Zeke Draker. Activating status window viewing. A translucent window materialized before him, filled with information. There are tons of magic video-like things. He muttered. Did an artifact get activated? Opening the status window. He examined the status window, his eyes widening in surprise. He could navigate it like a magic video. It detailed his class, skills, and title. He was a healer, a rare class with skills like healing, composed mind, vigor recovery, and heightened senses. His master had told him about classes and skills, how people in ancient times categorized themselves based on their aptitudes. Each class trained in specialized techniques known as skills. His master had trained him harshly after he had awakened, pushing him to the verge of death. In any case, according to the status window, he thought, it means I'm already a healer. He decided to test it out, to see if the status window was accurate. In his past life, he had become a healer in his 20s, after the Ether Hall was unlocked. That means, he focused his mind, and a faint glow emanated from his hands. I knew it, he whispered, his eyes shining with excitement. My Ether Hall is already unlocked. Even though his trained body no longer existed, he had returned to the past with his skills and memories. He was in a much more advantageous position than before his regression. And in order for me to make use of this, he thought, sitting up in bed, I need to find out what I have at my disposal first. Master Zeke, may I come in? A voice interrupted his thoughts. He froze, startled. It's useless to act like you're not there, the voice said. Ugh, I still haven't read it all, he muttered, trying to figure out how to close the status window. How do I turn this off? Wait, he called out as the door creaked open. I can't believe you're not prepared yet. A tall, imposing figure entered the room. Decker? Zeke exclaimed, recognizing his exclusive servant. Be prepared? Prepared for what? Zeke asked, trying to act. I guess he can't see the windows. That's a relief, he thought. Are you seriously asking me that, Master Zeke? Decker asked, his voice stern. Zeke remembered being scared of Decker when he was young. Even with the mind of a 32-year-old, he couldn't help but feel the fear engraved into his body. Suddenly, his nervousness vanished. Activating class skill, composed mind. The system announced. Class skill, composed mind. The mental state of the user will not be shaken regardless of the situation. They will be able to maintain a composed mind. This is Abe's skill too. Zeke thought, impressed. How convenient that it activates automatically. I already told you repeatedly that this event is very important, Decker was saying. Ha! Are you even listening, Master Zeke? Of course I am, Decker. Zeke replied calmly, thanks to his composed mind skill. You're talking about the evaluation test, Pancration, aren't you? He stated confidently. All Drakers, without exception, undergo a rigorous training system called the Cradle, starting at the tender age of 7. For 5 grueling years, they are subjected to strict basic training. Each year, the instructors evaluate the incoming students through competitions of swordsmanship and Pancration, a no-holds-barred combat style. While the instructors typically choose the opponents, there are occasions when students can challenge each other, provided they both consent. This brutal system often leaves participants injured, and some don't even make it out alive. It is this very competition that determines a student's class and their subsequent placement within the academy. The children, thrust into this unforgiving environment, have no choice but to fight with everything they have. As you all know, today is the day of Pancration. The head instructor, Pan Mark, announced to the assembled students. I assume you're all aware that this is the last part of the evaluation, right? Yes, sir. The students responded in unison, their voices filled with a mixture of trepidation and excitement. All right, you all seem to be in high spirits. Pan Mark noted, a hint of a smile playing on his lips. Then we'll get started right away. Prepare yourselves. Yes, sir. The students affirmed, their faces determined. Among the students, whispers arose about Zeke. It's Zeke. He's here again after the humiliation he went through last year. Damn, I would have rather quit if I were him. How is he in the direct bloodline? Poor guy. Zeke, however, ignored their comments, his enhanced senses allowing him to hear every word. I can hear you all, he thought, unfazed. The Pancration commenced. Aaron, Gata, come here. The instructor called out 2 names. Yes, sir. A student named Aaron responded. Get ready. The instructor signaled, and the 2 students leaped into the arena. Begin. The instructor's voice boomed. Aaron and Gata clashed, their movements swift and brutal. Aaron delivered a powerful punch to Gata's face. Gata countered with a kick, sending Aaron sprawling. That fight's already over. A spectator commented. That's what happens when you don't get into the proper defense position. Gata is unable to fight. Aaron wins. The instructor declared. I think I used to be deathly afraid of this when I was young. Zeke mused, watching the fights with a detached interest. Ha! But these guys are nothing. He yawned, unimpressed. A sinister smile crept onto Aaron's face as he looked at the defeated Gata. Zeke, Leon? Are you both ready? The instructor called out, interrupting Zeke's thoughts. Yes, Zeke replied calmly. Yes, sir, Leon answered with more enthusiasm. My opponent just had to be Leon. Zeke thought, annoyed. Leon smirked at him. Look at you, back here again. He taunted. Guess you didn't get enough of my attention last year. Well, whatever. Zeke responded, stepping onto the arena. Beg for your life if you want to live, you parasite. Leon threatened, his voice dripping with malice. I apologize, Mr. Leon Conrad. A student groveled nearby. Please spare me this one time. He's been my opponent every year anyway. Leon sneered, ignoring the plea. I'm sure he's pulled strings behind the scenes. Zeke thought, watching Leon. He household would say some bullshit, like that you have to be able to overcome such dirty tricks in order to be a true Dragonslayer. Why did that piece of shit have to be my cousin? Leon muttered, his eyes fixed on Zeke. In Zeke's past life, the 4 siblings of the direct bloodline never had the chance to meet. However, there were more than a dozen cousins who were more than willing to bully him. I have to give it to you, Zeke Draker, Leon said, breaking the silence. It's really brave of you to come back out here after getting beat up like last time, he mocked, his eyes gleaming with cruel amusement. Or perhaps, did you not learn your lesson because you're so inferior? He continued, adjusting his gloves. Activating class skill, composed mind. The system's voice echoed in Zeke's mind. Zeke took a deep breath, his earlier annoyance replaced by a calm focus. It's been a while since I had to listen to his stupid insults, he thought. Hey, Zeke spoke, his voice even. I'm not going to be nice if you call me that again. What are you going to do? Leon retorted, grabbing Zeke's hair. You inferior piece of shit. Activating skill, critical strike. The system announced. Skill, critical strike D. Inflicts critical damage to the enemy. May be countered in case of failure to hit. Zeke's fist slammed into Leon's face, a surge of power amplifying the blow. Kua! And my face! Leon screamed, clutching his bloodied face. My face! I only meant to knock him out, Zeke thought, surprised by the force of his own attack. But the skill got activated when I just punched like usual. I can't really control my abilities too well. What are you doing, Zeke Draker? The instructor shouted, rushing towards them. You attacked before I announced the start. Who says, ready, get, set, go, on the battlefield? Zeke countered, his eyes glowing with an eerie light. The one to hit first has the advantage, he stated, his voice cold and menacing. Leon, still reeling from the punch, stared at Zeke in disbelief. I was that bloodlust that I felt just now, he thought, trembling. I'm fine, sir, he stammered to the instructor. Please begin the fight, Leon requested, trying to regain his composure. I am going to, he muttered, his eyes blazing with fury. Kill that inferior piece of shit, he roared, charging at Zeke. I think you're the one that's too stupid to learn his lesson, Zeke retorted, his eyes narrowed. Get ready, the instructor shouted, his voice barely audible over the commotion. Begin. Leon lunged at Zeke, his movements wild and unpredictable. Zeke dodged, his movements fluid and precise. What? Leon gasped, surprised by Zeke's agility. I was scared because of that punch just now, he thought, trying to analyze Zeke's movements. But his fists don't hurt at all, he realized, regaining some of his confidence. If I just put my guard up, he's not a threat at all. What I have to be careful of is, he thought, focusing on Zeke's left hand. His left hand counter. Leon anticipated Zeke's counter, dodging at the last moment. It's too obvious, he exclaimed, grabbing Zeke's arm and attempting to take him down. Zeke, however, anticipated Leon's move as well. He twisted his body, using Leon's momentum against him. You inferior piece of shit, Leon screamed, trying to break free. With a swift movement, Zeke punched Leon in the chin, sending him flying backward. What? Leon stammered, dazed and confused. What just happened? I guess that wasn't enough, the instructor commented, observing the fight closely. You're kidding, Leon muttered, struggling to get up. You're telling me that this is the combat sense of a 12-year-old? The moment Leon dodged Zeke's counter and tried to take him down, everyone thought Leon was going to win. However, Zeke punched Leon's chin and got out of his grasp. It was on Leon that he let his guard down, thinking he had him there. But Zeke was so composed despite the fact that his counter failed. The concentration and precision needed to inflict such exact and effective damage. Is this really the Zeke Draker that I knew? Leon thought, his mind reeling. Damn it, I can't do anything like this. Leon cursed, realizing the extent of his disadvantage. I need to create distance between us first, he decided, trying to back away. But Zeke was too quick. He closed the distance in an instant, his movements blurring. Shit, Leon exclaimed, panicking. How is he this strong when he's so small? You inferior little, Leon started, but Zeke cut him off. He grabbed Leon's arm, his grip like iron. All right, I was able to control my strength this time, Zeke thought, his eyes glowing. How dare you? Leon yelled, trying to break free. Activating class skill, heightened senses. The system announced. Class skill, heightened senses. Heightened senses temporarily. Zeke's senses sharpened, his perception of time slowing down. This feeling is familiar, he thought, feeling the familiar surge of power. Now that he had gotten used to controlling ether, he could use it more effectively. He delivered a powerful blow to Leon's stomach. I'll put an end to this fight, he declared, his voice cold and resolute. He unleashed a flurry of punches, each one precise and powerful. Leon was sent flying through the air, crashing to the ground with a sickening thud. What? Leon gasped, his body racked with pain. Activating skill precise stab. The system announced. Skill precise stab. Stab the weak points of the enemy for critical damage. Zeke's hand moved like lightning, striking Leon's vital points. Even an idiot like you, Zeke said, his voice devoid of emotion. Stop, Leon pleaded, his voice weak. Should be able to learn their lesson with this, right? The other students watched in stunned silence. Zeke continued, ignoring Leon's pleas. He delivered a final blow, sending Leon crashing to the ground unconscious. Zeke stood over Leon's fallen form, his chest heaving. Fuck around and find out, he said, his voice barely a whisper. My head feels clear now that I've sweated a bit, he thought, wiping the sweat from his brow. He looked up at the other students, his gaze sweeping over them. I can recognize the people here now, he realized, his heightened senses allowing him to see them clearly. Stop looking around, he commanded. And come down here if you have something to say, he challenged, his voice echoing through the silent arena. Zeke's challenge echoed through the stunned silence of the arena. And come down here if you have something to say. The other students exchanged uneasy glances. Drake. One of them muttered, his voice barely a whisper. A young man with fiery red hair stepped forward, his eyes fixed on Zeke. I choose you as my Pancratian opponent, he declared, his voice ringing with a hint of arrogance. Because I've got something to say, just like you said. The redhead continued, a smirk playing on his lips. Jake and Vardek, another cousin, Zeke thought, recognizing the young man. That's fine, Zeke responded, his voice calm and steady. But you alone are too boring. He gestured towards another student, a tall, imposing figure with a stoic expression. Liam Stone, he called out. You go join him. Eh. Liam's servant, standing beside Jakin, gasped in surprise. I think that makes this a fair fight, Zeke stated, a faint smile playing on his lips. Jakin's smirk widened. Did you just insult me? He asked, his eyes flashing. Of course, dumbass. Zeke replied, his tone laced with sarcasm. Jakin's face contorted in rage. I'll beat you to death. Jakadreku. He vowed, his voice filled with venom. The instructor intervened, stepping between them. Don't do anything before I give the go, Zeke Draker. He warned. Yeah, Zeke responded dismissively, waving his hand. Then, ready. The instructor began, but Zeke was already moving. It's interesting seeing him again here. Zeke thought, his eyes fixed on Liam. The mercenary king, Liam. He mused, recalling Liam's infamous title. Even in his past life, as Jakin's servant, Liam had joined the cradle and the academy. But because he was a distant relative, he was left behind in education. He begged to join the higher education of the academy, Valhalla, but eventually ended up joining the Knight Order of a small nation called Baranon. Once Baranon fell, he became a mercenary. But in chaotic times, people flocked to the strong. With his long tenure as a mercenary, he became a Red Knight and started his own stone mercenaries. He united the three largest mercenary groups and was soon called the Mercenary King. As the Empire hired the stone mercenaries, Liam entered the Continental Wars. And Zeke, along with the Northerners, faced Liam as a foe. Though, it can be different this time. Zeke thought, a glimmer of hope in his eyes. Begin. The instructor's voice finally rang out, but Zeke had already launched his attack. He lunged at Jakin, his fist a blur of motion. Jakin barely managed to react, raising his arms to block the blow. I did say. Zeke's voice was low and dangerous. To come at me together. He unleashed a flurry of punches, his movements too fast for Jakin to follow. Do you think I'll play along? Jakin retorted, stepping back and attempting to create some distance. With your cheap tricks? He launched a powerful kick towards Zeke's head. Ugh! The kick connected, but not with Zeke. Instead, it struck Liam, who had moved in front of Zeke to protect him. You should have looked properly before kicking, Zeke said, his voice laced with mock concern. He delivered a swift uppercut to Jakin's stomach, sending him sprawling. You're looking away, Zeke chided as he launched another attack. This time, it was aimed at Liam. Liam, however, was ready. He raised his arms, blocking Zeke's punch. Aren't you a little too scared? Zeke taunted, his eyes gleaming. He feigned a kick, then quickly changed direction, aiming a punch at Liam's side. You couldn't even predict that feint, he commented as the blow connected. This is why I told you to come together, Zeke said, as he continued his relentless assault. Liam, despite his larger size and strength, was struggling to keep up with Zeke's speed and agility. You alone, Zeke delivered a powerful kick to Liam's chest, sending him staggering back. Aren't enough, he declared, his voice echoing through the arena. Liam! Jakin screamed, rushing to Liam's aid. Kill this asshole, he roared, his face contorted with rage. This guy, Zeke thought, observing Liam's movements. He's also 12 like us, right? He noted, impressed by Liam's resilience. The most annoying thing about him is his insane durability. He recalled from his past life. I won't be able to do anything if I let him attack first, Zeke decided, focusing all his energy. He needed to take the lead. With a burst of speed, he launched himself at Liam, his movements a whirlwind of motion. Skill / activated, the system's voice announced. / rank launches a barrage of attacks at the enemy, interfering with their sight. Zeke's fists became a blur, striking Liam from all angles. The other students watched in stunned silence, unable to comprehend what they were witnessing. Insane, one of them whispered. What is that? Another exclaimed. Yeah, you must be curious, since you've never seen anything like this before. An older student commented, his eyes fixed on Zeke. A northern fist-fighting technique in the Midlands, where swords dominate. He murmured. How could that, Zeke? But damn, Zeke thought, feeling the strain on his body. My body was trash when I was young. He could feel himself getting winded, his movements becoming sluggish. But that aside, he continued, his eyes fixed on Liam. That monstrous physique is the problem. Liam was taking all of his attacks head-on, with no counterattacks and no dodging, just taking it all in with his guard up. He was more aggressive during his time as the mercenary king. Anyways, my body is reaching its limit. Zeke realized, feeling his strength waning. I now see how strong your body is, he said, addressing Liam. I'll take you down through your guard, he declared, focusing his remaining energy. He raised his fist, channeling all his power into a single devastating blow. But Liam, anticipating the attack, moved at the last moment. He dodged, his movements surprisingly agile for someone his size. He dodged? Zeke muttered, surprised. You can't even see ether with your eyes, Liam said, his voice low and steady. Everybody here's got insane sense. He countered Zeke's earlier statement. He grabbed Zeke's arm, his grip like iron. Ah! Jaken, taking advantage of the distraction, charged at Zeke, delivering a series of blows. Zeke, caught off guard, was unable to defend himself. Class skill, heightened senses activated. The system's voice echoed in his mind, but it was too late. He was sent flying through the air, crashing to the ground with a sickening thud. Ugh! Zeke gasped, his body racked with pain. No matter how strong your body is, you can't do much without oxygen in your brain. Jaken taunted, pressing his knee against Zeke's chest. Zeke struggled to breathe, his vision blurring. This crazy bastard. Jaken cursed, as Zeke continued to struggle. Yeah, Liam said, his eyes fixed on Zeke. Let's see who comes out on top, he declared, as he and Jaken continued their assault. The other students watched in horror, unable to tear their eyes away from the brutal spectacle. The instructor, his face grim, observed the fight, his hand hovering near his sword. Zeke, his body battered and bruised, lay on the ground, his consciousness fading. Ha! Ha! He gasped, his breath coming in ragged bursts. Yeah, Jaken smirked, looking down at Zeke's defeated form. I expected at least this much from you, he said, his voice dripping with arrogance. It'll be worth taking you down, he exclaimed, raising his fist for the final blow. He roared, his voice filled with triumph. News of Zeke's injuries during the pancration spread quickly through the cradle. Decker, his loyal servant, rushed to his side. I heard you were greatly injured in pancration, he said, his voice filled with concern. Are you all right, young master? Yeah, I'm fine, Zeke replied, waving him off. If it's not impertinent of me, Decker began, his gaze fixed on Zeke. Could I check your pulse? He wants to check if I've awakened my aura. Zeke realized, understanding Decker's true intentions. HAA. Wait a bit. He sighed, extending his arm. Thank you, young master, Decker said, gently taking Zeke's hand. A faint blue glow emanated from Decker's palm as he focused his senses. He was checking Zeke's dantian, the center of one's aura. Zeke watched him, a thoughtful expression on his face. Is he a blue knight? He wondered, observing the color of Decker's aura. Imbuing someone else with aura was a difficult task, even for experienced knights. If Decker could do it so precisely, he had to be at least a blue knight. Not all knights are the same. Zeke recalled his master's words. Knights were classified according to their martial prowess and aura manipulation proficiency. The novice level was the white swordsman, a stage most children were at before the blessing rite. After the blessing rite, all trainees of the cradle became yellow swordsmen, having awakened their aura and opened their dantian. Once they learned to freely control their aura, they earned the title of knight. A purple knight could reinforce their sword with aura, while a blue knight could manifest an aura blade. Beyond that was the realm of those who had transcended their limits, the realm that the mercenary King Liam had reached. The Red Knight. There was also the Black Knight, but very few on the entire continent had achieved that level of mastery. How did someone skilled enough to be a commander, Zeke mused, looking at Decker, end up acting as my babysitter? No matter how he looked at it, there was no way Decker could detect his ether. Something only 2 people in the entire world could use. Young master, are you perhaps? Decker began, a hint of suspicion in his voice. Hiding something from me? Why? Zeke countered, raising an eyebrow. Are you hiding something from me then? Decker remained silent, his gaze unwavering. I'm just joking, Zeke said, breaking the tension with a chuckle. He turned away, a thoughtful expression on his face. Why have you suddenly changed so much, young master? Decker asked, breaking the silence. Zeke stopped in his tracks, his back to Decker. Your question is wrong, Decker, he said, his voice low. You should be asking why I have only changed now. He turned to face Decker, his eyes glowing with an intensity that made the older man flinch. Many more things will change from now on, he declared. Things are just going to their rightful places, he continued. So all you need to do is follow me. Yes, young master. Decker responded, bowing his head in deference. I understand. I have already prepared the bath you have asked for, he announced, changing the subject. Good. I like that you're always so fast. Zeke complimented him. See you, young master, Decker said, taking his leave. You can rest, Zeke instructed. If he was ordered to keep an eye on me, Zeke thought, as he watched Decker leave, then the problem would be who ordered him to keep an eye on me. He walked towards the window, deep in thought. I don't assume it's someone from my mother's side, he murmured. It must be one of my siblings. Entering his personal training room, Zeke was struck by the opulence of his surroundings. Man, so this is a personal training room, he muttered, taking in the various training equipment. This household is really living up to its name. He picked up a sword, testing its weight. Oh, before that, he remembered. Should I check out the system or whatever? Low-rank administrator status window. Name, Rick Draker. Class, healer rare. Skill, precise stab ranky beginner. Slash ranky proficient. Critical strike, rank D beginner. Draconian skill. Unable to view, 10 points are needed to unlock. Current karma points, 0. He activated the system window, the familiar blue interface appearing before him. My slash skill has become proficient, he noted, observing the changes in his status window. Does it go up the more I use the skill? He wondered. The skill was naturally activated based on my actions. He recalled. Does that mean I had it before then? He pondered. If I learn something new, will it be added here as a skill too? What's the difference between a skill and a class skill? He questioned, noticing the two categories. They get activated similarly though, he observed. And this? He focused on the Draconian skill section. Draconian skill. He read. Unable to view. 10 points are needed to unlock it. He tapped the information icon next to it. Karma points. You can earn karma points by killing monsters. Current karma points, 0 monsters? He muttered. There are a bunch of those in the dungeons, he remembered. But I need to be at least a purple knight to get in there. He sighed, realizing the challenge ahead. Plus, he looked at the ancient relic in his hand. I am more curious as to why I regressed to the past and what this system is. This skill and class thing, he continued. Tell me that it has to be related to that ancient relic. He stared at the relic, lost in thought. But I have so little information. He sighed, feeling frustrated. Phew, whatever. He decided, putting the relic aside. I'll use it as long as it can help me become strong. He picked up a sword, feeling its weight in his hand. Whether it's the system I'm using, he began, swinging the sword experimentally. Or a Draker, he declared, his eyes gleaming with determination. There are 2 known powers in the world, he recalled. The aura of the knights and the mana of the mages. Knights reinforced their aura in the dungeons, while mages handled their mana through circles. The 2 powers were on opposite ends of the spectrum. If you had awakened one, you could not awaken the other. However, he was unfortunate enough to be unable to awaken either Danteon or Circle. He was abandoned by his household and met his master during his vagabond days. His master taught him many things, but the most useful thing he taught him was healing and the Ether Hall. Through the Ether Hall which his master had developed, he was able to handle the energy of nature, ether. He and his master were the only ether users in the world. Ha! I've only trained for 2 hours, but I already feel like I'm going to collapse. Zeke sighed, leaning against the wall, exhausted. It should be here, right? He muttered, feeling for something on his wrist. Activating class skill, healing. Activating class skill, vigor recovery. A warm glow emanated from his hand as he activated his healing skills. He focused the energy on his fatigued muscles, feeling the tension ease away. Healing is a very rare skill that I did not even know existed until before I met Master. He thought. If he were to use it in front of people, they would treat him as an irregular. That was why he was unable to use it during his fight against Liam. He had to hurry to heal himself as soon as he got back to his room. Now that I've recovered, he stood up, feeling refreshed. I'll keep going. Ha! It's already dinner time. Zeke sighed, realizing how much time had passed. He left the training room, his stomach rumbling. What do I say to Decker? He wondered as he made his way to the cafeteria. A week later, in the Cradle cafeteria, rumors about Zeke were circulating among the students. Did you hear about Zeke? He's a completely different person now. One student whispered to another. That loser? Another student scoffed. You think he dabbled in black magic? As if. A third student chimed in. I hope he'll humble the stronger guys. One of them said, watching Zeke from afar. For real. Another agreed, chuckling. At the dinner table, the atmosphere was tense. You might not have an appetite, but you better eat up. Owen Zimmons, one of the senior students, said to a younger student. You need the energy for the swordsmanship duel. Are you trying to piss me off right now? The younger student retorted, glaring at Owen. I was just being nice, but I guess your inferiority complex is just that bad. Owen replied, unfazed. What? The younger student exclaimed, slamming his fist on the table. Food went flying, staining Raina Turin's uniform. Raina, another senior student, glared at the two bickering students. So what are you going to do now? Owen challenged, provoking the younger student further. J'étais de. The students at the table shouted in unison, noticing Zeke's arrival. I'm not sure. Decker, standing behind Zeke, commented. Pancration was savage, but impressive at the same time. He wiped a bit of food off of Zeke's uniform. However, he'll be pathetic when it comes to swordsmanship. He continued. What will he be able to do when he can barely hold up the sword? A sinister smile appeared on his face. All right, Jakin chimed in, trying to regain some confidence. He's so weak that he had to get a customized sword because the basic ones were too heavy for him. Not this again. Owen sighed, shaking his head. Yeah, Leon muttered, still nursing his injuries. It doesn't make sense that I lost to that inferior piece of shit. I'm sure you guys know that too since you saw us. Raina exclaimed, trying to rally the others. He only won against me in Pancration because of luck. Luck? A student questioned, raising an eyebrow. Raina glared at the student, her face turning red. If you really believe that, Owen began, a smirk playing on his lips. Then you have no right to be knights of the Draker household. The other students fell silent, avoiding Owen's gaze. A hush fell over the arena as the next event was announced, a sword duel. Unlike the brutal Pancration, this competition involved real swords, making it the cause of most incidents within the cradle. It was also where the difference between the cadets' skills was most glaringly shown. A month after the current final exams, the blessing rite would commence, the event where the Drakers awaken their aura. Zeke, come on up. The head instructor, Pan Mark, called out. Zeke stepped forward, a customized, smaller sword strapped to his side. He carried it not with the confident stride of a warrior, but with a casual, almost indifferent air. Whispers rippled through the crowd. What's with that ridiculously large sword? Does he think a big sword makes him stronger? Zeke ignored them, his focus solely on the upcoming duel. Raina Turin, his opponent, stepped into the arena. She walked with a measured grace, her movements precise and controlled. They stood facing each other, the tension thick in the air. I choose you as my opponent, Raina declared, her eyes blazing with intensity. Her voice, usually calm and collected, carried a hint of suppressed fury. Sounds good. A voice, which Zeke recognized as Leon's, shouted from the sidelines. I accept your challenge. Zeke responded, a smirk playing on his lips as he drew his sword. The movement, surprisingly, was smooth and effortless. He's lifting a claymore so easily. Owen observed, his eyes narrowed. Now that I'm facing him, I can tell. Raina thought, her gaze fixed on Zeke. This isn't the Zeke I knew, the one who could barely hold a sword properly. She tightened her grip on her own sword, a flicker of doubt crossing her mind. Is it because he grew larger? His aura. She shook her head, dismissing the thought. What am I saying? She chided herself. I can't get intimidated by him before the duel begins. I accepted with confidence, she reminded herself. Like how I've always done. She took a deep breath, trying to steady her nerves. But a duel against the Lightning Knight is quite nerve-wracking. She admitted to herself. Raina Turin, also known as the Lightning Knight, was one of the knights who made a name for herself during the Continental Wars. She was also noted to be one of the greatest of the next generation of Drakers, having awakened her aura even before she went through the blessing rite. She must have awakened her aura a few years ago at this time, Zeke thought, recalling Raina's history. But she hasn't used it in the cradle, he mused, saying she wanted to improve her fundamentals. Fundamentals? He echoed, a hint of respect in his voice. Begin! The head instructor shouted, signaling the start of the duel. Raina lunged forward, her sword a blur of motion. Zeke parried her attack, the clash of their swords echoing through the arena. They exchanged a flurry of blows, their swordsmanship skills on full display. Reina pressed her attack, her movements swift and precise. She unleashed a powerful strike, aiming for Zeke's side. Zeke, however, anticipated the move. He sidestepped, narrowly avoiding the blow, and countered with a swift slash of his own. She's better than I expected, Zeke thought, his eyes narrowed as he observed Reina's movements. But Reina pressed her attack, her sword flashing in the sunlight. Don't toy with him. Kill him in one strike, Reina. Jaken's voice shouted from the sidelines, filled with a mixture of frustration and desperation. What an idiot, Owen muttered, shaking his head in disgust. Does it look like? He began, watching the duel intently. Reina's toying with him? While the space between them was narrow, Zeke could sense gaps in Reina's defense. However, no matter how quickly he tried to take advantage of those openings, Reina's sword would meet his, as if she were anticipating his every move. And right after, another gap would open up. Yeah, this is almost like, Zeke thought, his eyes gleaming. A training duel, he realized. Meant for teaching me. He parried another of Reina's attacks, the force of the blow sending vibrations up his arm. He retreated, creating some distance between them. Ha! Ha! Reina panted, her chest heaving. So this is how the Lightning Knight fought back when she was in the cradle. Zeke mused, observing her closely. Her sword is honest. It's expected from someone who was obsessed with their fundamentals. He noted. But that's what's holding her back. He concluded. Let's see. He decided, a plan forming in his mind. Why don't I help her break out of her shell? He lowered his stance, adopting an extremely low posture. He charged at Reina, closing the gap between them in an instant. He intends to close the gap in one go. Reina realized, bracing herself. My speed's nothing to scoff at either, she thought, preparing to counter. Come Zeke Drac, she began, but Zeke was already upon her. He's fast, she exclaimed, surprised by his sudden burst of speed. He unleashed a barrage of attacks, his sword moving faster than she could react. But as long as there's distance between us, Reina thought, trying to maintain her composure. Reacting to his moves as possible. She parried and dodged, narrowly avoiding his strikes. Zeke pressed his attack, his movements relentless. He aimed a powerful blow at Reina's side, forcing her to retreat. She stumbled, losing her balance for a split second. Zeke seized the opportunity, closing in for the kill. You, Reina gasped, her eyes widening in alarm. With a swift, precise movement, Zeke disarmed her, his sword pointing at her throat. Reina froze, her breath held, her eyes wide with shock and disbelief. A faint blue aura flickered around her hand, quickly dissipating. The clatter of her sword hitting the ground echoed through the silent arena. Zeke slowly withdrew his sword, a faint smile playing on his lips. "J'étais lost," Jaken shouted, breaking the silence, misinterpreting the situation. As expected of Reina, he cheered, jumping up and down. She didn't use her aura as usual. He added, his voice filled with glee. No, Owen corrected him, his voice grave. The cadets didn't notice. He explained. But as Zeke's attack closed in on Reina, he continued. She used the faintest amount of aura. He pointed towards Reina's hand, where the faint blue glow had briefly appeared. It was an amount that's barely noticeable. He added, Reina, the one who promised to never use aura. He looked at Reina, his expression unreadable. Until she got into the academy. He was able to force that girl's hand. Owen concluded, turning his attention back to Zeke. What are you doing? Reina asked, her voice trembling slightly as she stared at Zeke. Zeke, ignoring her question, pressed his attack again, his sword a blur of motion. This isn't over, he declared, his eyes gleaming with determination. Reina, caught off guard, could only parry his blows, her movements becoming increasingly desperate. She stumbled, falling to her knees, her sword clattering to the ground. This is a sword duel. The other students shouted in protest, unable to comprehend what was happening. We won't stand for such cheap attacks. A knight abandoning his sword? This is victory. You don't have what it takes to be a knight. Shame on you. Shame on you. The cries of outrage echoed through the arena. TSK, I was in the zone. Zeke clicked his tongue in annoyance at the interruption. Want to continue? He asked Reina, extending a hand to help her up. I didn't lose yet. Reina insisted, her voice barely a whisper. He only struck me because I let my guard down. She reasoned, trying to regain her composure. My guard? She questioned herself, her mind reeling. If he wasn't barehanded and had a dagger, She trailed off, the realization dawning on her. She looked up at Zeke, her eyes filled with a mixture of confusion and grudging respect. It is my loss. She finally conceded, accepting defeat. The other students watched in stunned silence, unable to believe what they had just witnessed. Jakin, Leon, and Owen stared at Zeke, their expressions a mixture of shock, disbelief, and grudging admiration. Zeke Draker, who was called human scum just a few days ago. The announcer began, his voice trembling slightly. The winner is, he announced, his voice barely a whisper, achieved victory against one of the most talented children among the famed houses. He continued, his voice gaining strength. Jake Drake, he declared, the announcement echoing through the silent arena. Reina Turin, he added, acknowledging Reina's skill and reputation. The Draker family's main estate is ablaze, a scene of chaos and destruction. Bodies of soldiers litter the ground, swords stained with blood. Amidst the turmoil, Abel Draker, the second son, sips tea with a nonchalant air, much to the bewilderment of William. Abel, how are you drinking tea in this situation? William asks, incredulous. Abel calmly takes another sip, unfazed by the surrounding carnage. A letter arrives, bearing news that Zeke has defeated Reina. Zeke, they're saying this bastard defeated Reina. The letter reads, William, you're always so serious. Abel comments, a hint of amusement in his voice. How long do we have left until the blessing rite? He inquires, idly adjusting his grip on the teacup. We have time until the next full moon. William replies, looks like this is the right moment to pay the family a visit. Abel declares, rising from his seat. What? You're going there by yourself? William questions, surprised. It has just piqued my curiosity. Abel replies, a glint in his eyes as he examines his sword. I'm interested in knowing what kind of awakening. He continues, his voice trailing off as he gazes out the window. Our youngest is going to go through. Meanwhile, Zeke, seemingly unaffected by the commotion his victory caused, has returned to his training. Phew. He exhales, wiping sweat from his brow. I really don't understand how I managed to become a red knight with this body in my previous life. He muses, reflecting on his past. He opens his status window, reviewing his skills and noting his progress. As expected, once my skill mastery surpasses the expert level, he observes, the skill ranks up and the mastery resets. I even managed to raise my mastery of swift steps, he notes with satisfaction. The skill I gained during the duel. Decker interrupts his thoughts. Decker, what do you want? Zeke asks. We're leaving in 2 hours. Decker informs him. All right, I'll join soon, so get everything ready. Zeke replies. They depart in a carriage, heading towards the main Draker estate. It's been a while since I've been at the main estate. Zeke thinks. It belongs to the Draker family and is situated within the Duchy of Troy. The estate is located in the heart of the continent, at the Four Seasons Fortress in Midland, a strategic location surrounded by various territories. The blessing rite must be held at the main estate, where the legend of the Dragonslayer started. They arrive at the imposing main estate of the Draker family, known as the Dragon's Nest Lair. The grandeur of the estate is evident, a testament to the family's power and influence. As they enter, all attention is focused on them. I never realized this before, but Zeke thinks, looking around at the assembled crowd. All the onlookers are famous people you hear about from the Continental newsletter. He realizes, I'm sure my family has also sent informants to keep an eye on me. He surmises. Whatever their intentions are, he continues, his gaze hardening. Once they see me failing my awakening, I'm sure they'll just ignore me. He thinks, a flicker of defiance in his eyes. Suddenly, a commotion erupts. Why is that bastard here? Someone exclaims, their voice filled with anger and disbelief. Zeke turns to see Abel Draker, the second son of the family, known as the Lion Blade or the Butchering Knight. 33-34, Abel, as always, is impeccably dressed, with an air of refined cruelty about him. It's been a while, hasn't it? Abel greets them, a sly smile on his face. Haha, I believe so. Someone replies, forcing a laugh. So, what brings you here to the blessing rite? Abel inquires, his gaze sweeping over the crowd. Has anyone in this class caught your eye, perhaps? He asks, a hint of mockery in his voice. Not at all, but I have other reasons. Someone replies, their voice strained. It just so happens that... Abel continues, his smile widening. My adorable younger brother is here. He declares, his eyes locking onto Zeke. Oh, there he is. He says, his gaze piercing. The Butchering Knight, Abel. Someone whispers in shock. Zeke remains calm, despite the sudden tension. Calm down, he tells himself. There's nothing I can do right now anyway. In my past life, Abel would have never come to see me during the blessing rite. He reflects. Did my actions change the future? He wonders. If that's the case, this might be my chance. He thinks, a glimmer of hope in his eyes. The blessing rite commences. All right then, the officiant announces. We will now begin the blessing rite. Aaron, come on out. He calls the first participant. Aaron steps forward, placing his hand on the sacred. A surge of blue energy flows through him, signifying his awakening. The energy crackles and bursts around him, a visible manifestation of his newfound power. The blue light fades, leaving Aaron glowing with an inner. The light intensifies, illuminating the hall. All through the blessing of the every member of the Draker bloodline, the officiant explains. Awakens their sealed aura when it's time for them to graduate from the cradle at the age of 12. Compared to ordinary knights, who awaken after the age of 20, it was incredibly fast. All right, next. The officiant calls. Among them, there are a few rare cases where, the officiant continues. Along with their aura, they'll awaken a trait of the Dragonslayer, known as mana inhibition. The mana lamps flicker and dim, a sign of mana inhibition. Oh, red lights! Someone exclaims. Red lights indicate a higher level of awakening. They will become at least as strong as yellow knights, though some have even rivaled red and black knights. The participant glows with a red aura, signifying a pure blood awakening. 53-54. Bring me the gloves. Someone orders. Because of mana inhibition, everyone will require the usage of special gloves made by their family, or else they wouldn't be able to live an ordinary life. A participant puts on the special gloves, suppressing their aura. When one is able to prove that they're of pure blood descent, they're conferred the Draker name. Along with that, you will be provided with the unimaginable support of the family and countless benefits. All right, next. The officiant calls, signaling the next participant. Oh, finally, someone says excitedly. Looks like we have the main dish. Another comments. I wonder what kind of awakening he'll go through. A third person muses. Of course it will be a pure blood awakening since he beat Reina. Someone declares confidently. Zeke steps forward, placing his hand. I never thought I'd stand in front of this damned statue again. He thinks, a mix of emotions swirling within him. The last time was horrible. He remembers, a shudder running through him. Although the blessing rite was the only thing that pushed me to get through the cradle, He recalls, his hand trembling slightly as he touches the cool surface. A shameful title. He remembers the ridicule and scorn he faced. However, this time everything is different. He tells himself, steeling his resolve. Not only can I heal, he thinks, but I can manipulate ether. And on top of that, he continues. I didn't give up and surrender, but I stood up for myself with my own will. He takes a deep breath, focusing his energy. That's why, he declares to himself. Please take care of me, you damned bronze stat. He whispers, a hint of defiance in his voice. The energy surges, but it's different this time. It's not the familiar blue or red, but something else entirely. A strange, ethereal light envelopes Zeke's hand. The statue's hand, usually unresponsive, moves. It's as if the statue itself is reacting to Zeke's presence. It stopped. Someone asks, confused. This has never happened before. Another exclaims, their voice filled with shock. Abel's eyes narrow, his gaze fixed on Zeke. I knew it, he says softly, a knowing smile on his face. Yeah, I shouldn't have expected things to change. He adds, his tone laced with a hint of disappointment. Thanks to that bastard, I became too confident. Zeke thinks, his heart sinking. The onlookers whisper among themselves, confused and bewildered. What? He failed to awaken? Is that even possible? But how? Looks like even the blood of the family head wasn't enough for the cursed blood. Shh, be quiet. How did he beat Reina then? He must have used a trick. He's an embarrassment to the family. The whispers turn into open mockery and scorn. These people never change. Zeke thinks, his fists clenching. Well, it doesn't matter. There are plenty of ways to get stronger other than awakenings. He reminds himself, trying to maintain his composure. Suddenly, a message appears in his mind. I'm sorry, Zeke Draker, it reads. Due to an error during processing, a message got delayed. Zeke stares, confused. It was found that necessary information has been found missing from the identification terminal during class identification. The message continues. Class information has been input using the system's authority. Information has been found missing? No way! Zeke exclaims, his eyes widening in disbelief. The red lights flicker again, indicating a pure-blood awakening. It's red! A pure-blood awakening. Someone shouts, their voice filled with awe. He starting off as red? Another exclaims, their voice trembling. The energy surges again, even more powerful than before. The terminal has made a connection. The message in Zeke's mind reads, the ancient dragon's blessing sealed within the user's soul has been activated. Abel watches, his expression unreadable. He remains silent, his gaze fixed on Zeke. The talent of kin, fighter's blood, has been awakened. The message continues. Your awakened talents have been combined. With the combination of rare talents, a new class has been created. What the hell? Zeke mutters, overwhelmed revelations. Unique class, the message declares. Immortal has been awakened. A golden light engulfs Zeke, leaving the onlookers bewildered. A golden light? What is this? Someone wonders aloud. Is this even a pure-blood awakening? There was some red there, so it must be, right? Another speculates, trying to make sense of the unprecedented event. Of course they'll have doubts. Zeke thinks, understanding the confusion. But it'll work against me if I say something here. He decides to remain silent, observing the reactions of those around him. But the mana lamp is fine. Someone points out, noticing that the mana lamps, which usually react to mana inhibition, are unaffected. Is the sword statue broken? Another suggests, questioning the integrity of the ancient artifact. There was no mana inhibition. It can't be a pure-blooded awakening. A third person concludes, dismissing the possibility. Abel, however, remains unfazed. He smirks, seemingly amused by the unfolding spectacle. Why are you all acting so serious? He asks, his voice laced with irony. We got 2 pure-blood awakenings in one batch. He declares, causing a stir among the crowd. Isn't this something to celebrate? He adds, his tone dripping with sarcasm. The crowd erupts in a mix of confusion and excitement. That's right! Someone exclaims. 2 pure-blood awakenings. What a blessing! Another adds, caught up in the moment. Abel, seeing the shift in the atmosphere, seizes the opportunity. What are you doing? Go get a glove for our newest member. He commands, addressing his subordinates. Yes, sir. They respond, quickly moving to obey. Zeke is presented with a glove, which feels strangely heavy in his hand. Next, the officiant calls, attempting to restore order. Abel, however, has other plans. He approaches Zeke, a sly smile on his face. His intention's obvious, Zeke thinks, wary of Abel's motives. But taking Abel's help, he trails off, considering the implications. This feels like shit. He admits to himself, his expression grim. The blessing rite concludes, and a celebration party is announced. This is for everyone here, so please do enjoy. The host declares. Zeke, however, has no interest in the festivities. Party my ass. He scoffs. There has to be a training room here somewhere, right? He thinks, already planning his next move. As he turns to leave, he spots someone approaching him. Zeke. A familiar voice calls out. Zeke turns, surprised to see Abel standing before him. I didn't expect him. He thinks, caught off guard. Where are you wandering off to so early into the party? Abel asks, his tone teasing. To make contact with me so soon. He adds, his gaze intense. He offers Zeke a handshake. Congratulations, he says, his voice low. On a pure-blood awakening. He continues, a hint of mockery in his tone. Zeke hesitates, knowing that refusing the handshake would be a sign of hostility. Haha. He forces a laugh. Let's play along for now. He decides, accepting Abel's hand. Their hands meet, and Zeke feels a strange sensation. He glances at Abel, who seems to be studying him intently. Abel looks at him, questioning. Zeke quickly withdraws his hand. Well, Zeke says, trying to maintain a neutral expression. This is awkward, Zeke. Abel comments, a smirk playing on his lips. Even for the sake of saving face, I can't shake this scum's hand. Zeke thinks, his internal turmoil growing. It can't be helped. Abel says, seemingly understanding Zeke's discomfort. I'll have to settle for having seen your face. He adds, his tone light, but with an underlying hint of something more. I'll see you again, Zeke. He says, turning to leave. Yeah. Zeke replies, watching him go. I'll see you again. He echoes Abel's words, a sense of unease settling in his stomach. 2 new purebloods, huh? Someone comments, breaking the silence. That's right. Zeke's golden light was quite shocking. Another adds, "We thought he failed to awaken at first." A third person chimes in. "Where is he now?" Someone asks, looking around for Zeke. Zeke, having escaped the crowd, finds himself alone in a quiet room. "Phew," he sighs, relieved to be away from the prying eyes. "I thought I was going to suffocate in there," he admits, leaning against a wall. "That aside," he begins, examining his hand. "How am I fine?" He wonders, recalling the golden light and the absence of mana inhibition. All pureblood awakenings have the ability, mana inhibition. He muses. It's the ability that proves you're in opposition to the dragons, the source of mana. However, he continues, looking at his glove, because most machines use mana as their fuel, a pureblood requires the use of the house's gloves. If I was a pureblood, there should have been problems as soon as I took this glove off. He reasons, taking off the glove. He opens his status window, examining his updated information. This is completely different from before. He notes, observing the changes. Not mana inhibition but mana reflection. He reads, intrigued by the new skill. I'll need to read it properly. He decides, focusing on the description. Skill, mana reflection. Creates a distortion field to nullify nearby mana. So mana reflection is categorized as a skill. He realizes, the mana lamps were fine because it's not a passive skill. He concludes, I was a rare healer before the rite, he recalls. But now I'm a unique immortal? He questions, still trying to grasp the extent of his transformation. Wait! He pauses, a thought striking him. All the graduates had regular awakenings with a blue aura. He remembers. Only Reina had a red, pure blood awakening. He recalls. Mine was red too at first, he notes. But it turned into gold. He examines the information again. The system said. He begins. The classification terminal was found to have lost information regarding class classification. By classification terminal, did it mean the bronze statue? He wonders. As soon as the system put in the information, he continues, the system will use its authority to input class information in the terminal. The halted bronze statue began to emit a red light. He recalls the sequence of events. HAA. Damn it. He sighs, frustrated by the lack of clarity. So that's what happened. He realizes, finally understanding. The bronze statue doesn't determine whether you've awakened or not. He explains. It determines the user's disposition, their class. Red for a rare class and gold for unique. He concludes. The concept of class doesn't exist nowadays, he continues. So it was only being used to check if one has awakened or not. They have mislabeled the red light shown as a sign of a pureblood awakening. He realizes the misunderstanding. And no family had ever realized this. He sighs, shaking his head. He notices something new in his status window. I have karma points now. He observes. Did I get it back then? He wonders, trying to recall when he might have acquired them. Let's try to use it. He decides, selecting the option to use his karma points. Your draconian skill is now available for viewing. The system announces. You may now browse through your list of skills. Opening draconian skill. He sees a list of new skills. Dragon Eyes locked, 20 points to unlock. Might of the Dragon locked, 30 points to unlock. Devour locked, 50 points to unlock. Draconian skill level 2. Unable to view, 50 points are needed to unlock. He studies the list. I get Dragon Eyes and Might of the Dragon. He notes. Draconian skill level 1, Devour. Allows the user to eat and digest a lot. But eat and digest a lot? He questions the vague description. Why does this cost 50 points? He wonders. Better get something that's obviously good rather than take a chance. He decides, opting to unlock the other skills first. Draconian skill, Dragon Eyes has been unlocked. Draconian skill, Might of the Dragon has been unlocked. The system confirms. Might of the Dragon seems a little too dangerous to use here, so he decides to try out Dragon Eyes first. Draconian skill, activating Dragon Eyes. The system announces. His eyes glow with a golden light, and he feels a strange sensation. I expected more because it said detailed information. He says, looking around. But nothing's really changed. Wait. He notices something different. The statue in the center of the garden is now clearly visible to him, even in the dim light. The statue in the center of the garden looks like it's right in front of me. He observes. This could be really useful. He realizes the potential of his new skill. He focuses on a nearby object. and a window appears with detailed information. Detailed information? He reads, intrigued. What? He exclaims, surprised by the level of detail. The window displays information about various objects in the room, including their origin and material. Decorative candle stand from Mycenae. Desk made of olive wood and chair made from the Laverne dynasty. Drawer made from the Merc Empire. Ceremonial dress of the Draker household. Carpet made from the Rum Empire. He reads the descriptions, amazed by the information provided by his dragon eyes. Suddenly, he feels a sharp pain in his eyes. Ugh! He cries out, clutching his eyes. Huh? What? My body is. He gasps, feeling a strange weakness. He stumbles, collapsing onto a nearby chair. Are all draconian skills like this? He wonders, his breath coming in ragged gasps. I can't even use them much if they're like this. He realizes the limitations of his new abilities. Class skill, activating healing factor. Class skill, vigor recovery activated. The system announces, automatically activating his healing abilities. He feels a surge of energy, revitalizing him. What? He says, surprised by the sudden recovery. I didn't intend to use healing. He notes. He opens his status window again, examining the changes. Wait! He notices something different. All my class skills have changed into passive abilities, he observes. And their levels have increased by 1. He sees that his healing factor is now a passive ability. Class skill, healing factor. Your body will automatically repair itself. Passive ability. This is too broken, he exclaims, realizing the implications. Healing may seem like it's already overpowered, he thinks. But it's not something you can constantly spam. And its healing effects are limited. He remembers the limitations of his previous healing abilities. However, healing factor is infinite. He realizes the true potential of his new passive skill. I need to test this. He decides, grabbing a nearby knife. Phew! He takes a deep breath and makes a small cut on his arm. Blood wells up, but the wound quickly begins to close. Class skill, healing factor activated. The system announces. No way! He watches in amazement as the wound heals completely. Does the academy take 5 years to finish? He wonders, thinking about his future plans. 5 years, huh? He repeats. I'll finish it in 2. He declares, a confident smirk on his face. The grandeur of the Draker Academy, the greatest knight academy on the continent, is on full display. Aspiring knights from all corners of the world flock to this prestigious institution, located in the Duchy of Troy. The new semester is about to begin, and the grounds are teeming with students. Among them are familiar faces, including Owen, Leon, and Jakin. The higher-ranked students are no different from adults. Zeke observes, taking note of their polished appearances. They're all trained to perfection. He compares them to the students from the cradle, finding them lacking in a certain rawness. But they're still children from the great families. He acknowledges, recognizing their established authority. This damned family is rotten to the core. He thinks, his disdain for the system evident. The 3 most influential families supporting the Draker family are highlighted. Turin of Strength, Zimmons of Wisdom, and Vardek of Gold. Even the children of those 3 families are in this state. Zeke muses, his expression unreadable. Well, it's none of my business. He dismisses them, focusing on his own path. He arrives at the high-class dormitory, Platinum Mansion, a luxurious residence with a training hall, library, and various other facilities. It's only open to the highest-ranked students, a voice explains. And even those from the cradle can't enter it easily. As for pureblood awakeners, the voice continues. They are given the special privilege of a floor master, an entire floor known as the Platinum Floor. Zeke is welcomed by the staff, who bow before him. Isn't this a bit much, even if I'm a pureblood? He wonders, feeling a mix of amusement and discomfort at the excessive treatment. He is informed that Decker is waiting for him in his room. Welcome, young master. Decker greets him. What is it, Decker? Zeke asks. I have something to deliver to you. Decker replies, handing him a new set of gloves. Oh, it really is on a different level from temporary gloves. Zeke comments, examining the craftsmanship. It's a relief that you've taken a liking to them. Decker says. I've gotten new gloves, Zeke says, putting them on. So I want to get a new sword while I'm at it. But what do you think, Decker? He asks for his opinion. That is an excellent decision, young master. Decker approves. He seems to be contemplating something. Because the Duchy of Troy is close to the Giants' Mountains, he explains. It is abundant with good quality iron and excellent craftsmen. It's to the point where people say that the first weapon of an academy alumni is always a Trojan. He adds, then I shall search for a decent craftsman. Zeke decides, no, it's fine. Decker interjects, I have one in mind. He reveals, a subtle smile playing on his lips. I'll go in person, so set up an appointment for me. Zeke instructs, Galleon Halbert. I've never heard of them before. Decker admits, a hint of curiosity in his voice. I shall contact them right away. He agrees. Also, classes will be starting tomorrow, he reminds Zeke. So please review the relevant documents beforehand. Always with the nagging. I get it. Zeke replies, slightly annoyed. Given how the platinum floor is completely isolated, Zeke thinks as he schemes through the documents, I'll have a lot more freedom to develop my draconian skills. He sees this as an opportunity to further explore his new abilities. A knock on the door interrupts his thoughts. Come in. He calls out, Pardon me. A maid enters. Floor Master Reina has sent a dinner invitation. She announces, Reina has. Zeke is surprised. Take me there. He accepts the invitation. He follows the maid, a slight smile on his face. Isn't that cute? He thinks, amused by Reina's gesture. He is greeted by Reina and two other men. Are you guys some kind of southern cartel? One of them asks, his tone less than friendly. Welcome, Zeke Draker. Reina says, ignoring the comment. Floor Master Reina Turin. She introduces herself. My family's people are rather peculiar. She apologizes for her companion's behavior. Thanks for your concern. Zeke replies, unfazed. Let's discuss business after our meal. Reina suggests, leading them to a dining table. The lightning night. Zeke thinks, observing Reina. She's fully utilizing her lower abdomen to control her aura. He notes her precise control. Has she already laid her eyes on the position of Purple Knight? He wonders. Then why is her swordsmanship stuck in a rut? He questions, recalling their duel. Ha! What a waste of her potential. One of the men comments, shaking his head. Zeke enjoys the meal, finding it surprisingly delicious. I'm a pretty big eater myself, Reina says. But this was far beyond my expectations. She compliments the chef. We're done eating, so I'll get right down to business. She announces. Accept the Turin family's support, Zeke Draker. She makes her offer. It seems you've forgotten, but you and I are both pure-blood awakeners. She reminds him. Looks like you have a misunderstanding about pure-blood awakeners. She continues. It's true that we receive many privileges. She acknowledges. Just this platinum floor alone is proof of that. She gestures to their surroundings. But we don't receive any benefits in terms of our growth. She reveals a crucial detail. The centuries of practical and instructional experience accumulated in the academy. She explains. If you don't have the connections, it will all fall off you. You will fall behind. She warns him. That is why support families are necessary. She emphasizes the importance of their offer. Even Abel Draker, a pure blood like us, she continues, the youngest ever to attain the title of White Knight and the current Black Knight, received support from his maternal family, the Zimmons family. She uses Abel as an example. Although the patriarch of the Turin family has not told me the reason why, she admits. He has told me that you are not receiving support from your maternal family. She reveals a key piece of information. I will say this once more. She repeats her offer. Accept the Turin family's support, Zeke Draker. She looks at him intently. No. Zeke rejects her offer without hesitation. Question mark. Reina is taken aback by his immediate refusal. Why? She stammers, confused. Receiving the Turin family's support shouldn't be a bad deal for you. She argues. It's not about that. I don't need anything more than what I already receive as a pure-blood awakener. He states his position. It's not much, but in return for the meal, he says, deciding to offer her something in return. I'll give you just one piece of advice you need right now. He leans in closer. Your sword has too much strength behind it. He reveals his observation. Reina is stunned into silence. I guess you're too conscious of those men. He adds, gesturing towards her companions. He touches her sword, channeling a strange energy. Listen well, Reina. He says, his voice taking on a serious tone. Your greatest strength is the fluidity that arises from having a flexible body. He explains. Don't receive attacks head-on and crush your opponents with strength, he advises. But fluidly cast your opponent's attacks aside. He demonstrates, his movements mimicking water. And land a single delicate strike. He finishes, his voice soft. If you can do that, you'll grow several times stronger than you are now. He promises. Thanks for the meal, he says, getting up to leave. He grips his glove, feeling the energy he channeled earlier. The Turin family is the herald of strength. Reina protests, clinging to her family's traditions. I was simply following my family's tradition. She defends herself. It's not that I'm being conscious of others. She insists. No, he's right. She contradicts herself, realizing the truth in Zeke's words. Because I had been obsessed with becoming a person fitting of the Turin name, she reflects. This is what had been unintentionally projected onto my sword as a result. She understands her flaw. He simply saw right through that. She acknowledges Zeke's perceptiveness. When I was young, everyone praised me as a genius, she recalls. And not one person gave me any real advice. She realizes the impact of her upbringing. Jake. She says his name, her voice filled with a newfound respect. Just who are you? She wonders, her gaze fixed on his retreating figure. All my change class skills have insane performance. Zeke observes, marveling at his new abilities. How am I fine even though I stayed up all night training? He wonders, noticing his lack of fatigue. Class skill, infinite stamina. Any fatigue will be offset quickly by an infinite amount of stamina. Passive ability. The system window explains. In my past life, I thought of this place as being hell itself. He reflects on his previous experience at the academy. But now that I'm a pure-blood awakener, this place is heaven. His perspective has completely shifted. Money and power aren't everything, but there's nothing quite like this. He acknowledges the privileges that come with his status. As he walks through the academy grounds, he is noticed by other students. Jake. Someone says, recognizing him. So you're part of the special class too. Owen approaches him, accompanied by others. Owen, the third son of the Zimmons family, was known for his cunning and manipulative nature. He had used others to bully Zeke in the past. I invited you for dinner last night, but you didn't reply. Owen says, feigning friendliness. Did you perhaps not receive an invitation letter? Why is he acting all friendly now? Someone wonders, confused by Owen's behavior. I was at the one on my desk. Zeke asks, playing along. Why did you not reply? Owen presses, his smile faltering. Well, aren't you funny? Zeke retorts. Why do I have to reply to every single one? He challenges, his gaze unwavering. He abruptly grabs Owen's subordinate and effortlessly throws him to the ground. You're being rather rude despite the young master's kindness. Owen says, his tone turning cold. Jake. He addresses Zeke directly, his eyes narrowed. Who are you? Why you? How could you not know me? The subordinate sputters, outraged. Looks like those from the cradle aren't worth much after all. Owen comments, dismissing the subordinate's reaction. Ah geez. The subordinate sighs in resignation. I get that you want to look good in front of your young master, Zeke says, turning to Owen. But keep in mind who you're speaking to. He warns, channeling his aura. He effortlessly throws Owen into the air, showcasing his newfound strength. It seems like high-ranking students are capable of basic aura manipulation. He observes, unfazed by Owen's display. My name is Durbin Roswell. The subordinate shouts. They call me Durbin the Mighty here. In place of young Master Owen, I will teach you some manners, he declares, stepping forward to challenge Zeke. Durbin the Mighty? Zeke repeats, a smirk playing on his lips. So a cadet that isn't even a knight has a pseudonym. He mocks, further provoking Durbin. Durbin attacks, but Zeke effortlessly counters, slamming him to the ground. What a joke, Zeke says, his voice dripping with disdain. Durbin coughs up blood, defeated. Zeke throws him aside, his movements powerful and precise. So, who's next after Durbin the Mighty? Zeke challenges, looking at the remaining students. Hurry up and pick young Master Owen. He provokes Owen, eager for a real fight. Owen and his group turn to leave, but Zeke stops them. You sure like to bask in your own glory, Zeke Draker, Owen says, his tone laced with resentment. What a joke, Zeke retorts, dismissing Owen's comment. He explains the structure of the academy. The normal class for those who lack talent, and the special class for those who can freely choose their subjects outside of basic subjects. Even within the academy, the place where the greatest of elites gather is the special class. He highlights the prestige of his class. That's why I had some expectations, he admits, thinking about the potential of his classmates. But most of the people here are just alumni of the cradle. He realizes, his tone disappointed. The special class is interrupted by the arrival of a very special someone. The students are excited, recognizing the newcomer as the commander-in-chief during the Eastern Empire War 20 years ago. He was also the hero who stopped the Empire's invasion with their resourcefulness alone. Please welcome the Command-in-Chief, Dean Howard Draker. The Dean of the Academy is introduced. It's a pleasure to meet you, gentlemen. Howard Draker greets the students. Howard Draker, the war hero, is a figure of great respect and admiration. However, the truth is that he leaked information to the enemy for his own survival, a fact that Zeke is aware of. That rat's no hero. Zeke thinks, his opinion of Howard in stark contrast to the public perception. Rather, he's the main perpetrator that got me kicked out of the academy. He reveals a personal connection to Howard's betrayal. He lost his place and ended up wandering the Duchy of Troy, eventually being caught by slave traders and sold off to the Southern cartel. I'll make sure to pay him back for that, he vows, his eyes burning with determination. I believe that all of you have taken the dean's words to heart. The instructor addresses the students. Now then, we'll begin basic classes immediately, so take your swords and head to the arena. The students comply, heading to the special class indoor arena. Who would have thought even the special class has to learn the basics of dragon slaying? Zeke muses, finding it ironic. In my past life, simply because of the fact that I couldn't use aura, he recalls, I spent 2 years learning what would have otherwise taken a person 3 months. He reflects on his past struggles. Please go easy on me, he mutters, a hint of sarcasm in his voice. Welcome, cadets. The instructor greets them. I am Andre Draker, and I will be teaching you all dragon slaying basics. The instructor introduces himself as Rose Knight Andre Draker. The students are surprised by his youth and formal Draker uniform. They whisper among themselves, recognizing him as Andre the Rose Knight. Despite not being a pureblood awakener, he graduated early from the Academy and Valhalla as valedictorian. He is a once-in-a-century genius who was awarded the Draker name. Even the special classes teachers are on a different level. Zeke notes, he's famous for his inflexible personality too. He adds, aware of Andre's reputation. Andre silences the students and instructs them to draw their swords if they're done chattering. The students comply, and Andre's gaze falls on Zeke. Cadet, what is that sword? He asks, noticing Zeke's unusual weapon. Zeke presents his customized sword. As you can see, it's the sword I'm using. He replies, his tone neutral. Andre steps onto the arena, silently challenging Zeke. Cadet, are you not aware of the fact that you must pick a sword that suits your body? He asks, his tone firm. I knew this would happen, so I made sure to stand out when drawing my sword on purpose. Zeke thinks, anticipating the confrontation. It can't be helped. He accepts the challenge. I'm sure I could beat you with this sword, instructor. He states confidently. It'll be faster to just show him my skills. He decides to demonstrate his abilities. Class skill, activating indomitable mental defense. The system announces, enhancing Zeke's mental fortitude. I understand, cadet, Andre says, acknowledging Zeke's challenge. If you wish to learn with your body, he unsheaths his sword. Then if your blade so much as touches my body, he declares, you will be exempted from not just the punishment for your rudeness, but also from this dragon-slaying basics class. 77, 78, he sets the terms of their duel. Don't worry, Andre assures the other students. I don't plan on using aura against the cadets. Oh ho, class exemption. Zeke thinks, seeing an opportunity. I can beat Andre since I know his weakness, he muses, confident in his knowledge. It'd be dangerous for me to garner attention like I did back in the cradle. He acknowledges the risks of standing out too much. I'll just graze his clothes and lose. He plans a strategic retreat. All right then, he declares, launching his attack. Andre parries, and their swords clash. As expected of a blue knight, Zeke thinks, impressed by Andre's skill. This won't be easy, he realizes. The duel continues, with Andre effortlessly deflecting Zeke's attacks. An official Draker knight really is on a whole other level. The other students observe, amazed by the display of swordsmanship. Yeah, he hasn't managed to even graze his clothes for 30 minutes. Another adds. Zeke is pushed back, his customized sword clattering to the ground. What's with his ridiculous stamina? Someone wonders, noticing Zeke's relentless energy. Even if I'm suppressing my aura, Andre thinks, feeling the strain of the prolonged duel. To think that I'm losing to a cadet, he acknowledges Zeke's skill. Truly, the existence of purebloods is unfair. He reflects on the inherent advantages of purebloods. His poor stamina is the same as ever, Zeke observes, noticing a weakness in Andre's technique. And him suppressing his own mana isn't helping. He realizes that Andre is intentionally limiting himself. The Draker's aura cultivation method is known for its peculiarity. The narration explains, you must activate your aura during training, during your daily tasks, and even when you're eating and sleeping. You practically maintain it as if you are breathing. In other words, for Andre, Zeke thinks, he's basically holding his breath. He understands the strain Andre is under. Unconventional swordsmanship depletes your stamina even further. He continues his assault, pushing Andre to his limits. But losing like this doesn't quite feel right. He feels a sense of dissatisfaction despite his advantage. There's no helping it. He decides on a new course of action. I have to force him to use aura. He resolves to push Andre even further. Creating situations that can be easily handled is useless. He thinks, strategizing, I need something that'll make him unconsciously use aura. He aims to trigger Andre's instincts. In other words, an extreme situation. He concludes. He launches a rapid attack, utilizing his swift step skill. 29-30. That's? Andre recognizes the technique. Swift steps. No way. The students are shocked. Zeke follows up with a critical strike, his movements blurring. How can a cadet know swift steps? Andre wonders, caught off guard. He focuses on Zeke's movements, 32-33, trying to anticipate his next attack. He parries, but Zeke continues his relentless assault. Dragonslaying Arts. Chapter 1, the first verse. Sky Slice. He unleashes a powerful technique, forcing Andre to counter. The other students watch in awe as their swords clash. Zeke's sword breaks, but he continues his attack, striking Andre's arm. That really hurts, he says, activating his healing factor. He collapses, seemingly exhausted. Andre is also forced to the ground, his sword damaged. He looks at Zeke, acknowledging his victory. This cadet does not need to attend class anymore. He declares, exempting Zeke from the Dragonslaying Basics class. Are there any other cadets who wish to be exempt? He asks the remaining students. They remain silent, intimidated by the display of skill. I will assume that there is none. Andre concludes. Now then, lift your sword. From now on, the cadets will see a true Drakers. He begins his instruction. Later, Zeke is resting in the infirmary. That was a pretty good performance, if I say so myself. He thinks, satisfied with his actions. While I didn't graze his clothes, I got Andre to use the aura he said he wouldn't, and acknowledged my abilities. He reflects on his success. In conclusion, Andre got disciplined, and I obtained free time. It's a win-win. He considers the outcome favorable. Andre's last attack was. He recalls the powerful technique Andre used. The most basic move of the Dragonslaying Arts. Chapter 1, the first verse, Sky Slice. However, because it came from a blue knight, its force was nothing short of incredible. He acknowledges Andre's strength. Regardless, I can still beat a blue knight, considering my limitless stamina and healing. He reaffirms his confidence. But this isn't enough to live freely. He recognizes the need for further growth. In order not to be restricted, I need unrestrainable power. He desires true freedom. The power that won't let me submit to anyone. He sets his sights on an even higher goal. Suddenly, a voice interrupts his thoughts. So, Key. A drunken man stumbles into the room. So you're Arthur's youngest son, he says, approaching Zeke. Who the hell is? Zeke is startled by the intrusion. Your eyes are the same as that arrogant bastard Arthur's. The man comments, his gaze intense. I wasn't able to sense him despite the strong stench of booze. Zeke wonders, surprised by the man's stealth. Not to mention, that arrogant bastard Arthur. He's calling the current patriarch of the Drakers such a thing. He notes the man's disrespectful tone. Who are you? How'd you do that earlier, kid? The man asks, ignoring Zeke's question. He sure acts as he pleases. Zeke observes, annoyed by the man's behavior. The man continues to drink, seemingly unfazed by Zeke's presence. Feigning ignorance, gosh. He throws the empty bottle aside. You were inflicted with an internal wound earlier. He reveals, surprising Zeke. How did it heal instantaneously? He questions, his gaze piercing. He caught on to healing factor? Zeke realizes, his mind racing. Class skill. Indomitable mental defense activated. The system intervenes, calming Zeke's thoughts. No, don't fall for it. Zeke tells himself, resisting the urge to reveal his secrets. There's no one who would know of healing at the academy. He reminds himself, I don't know what you're talking about. He denies any knowledge of healing. So you're going to keep up this charade? The man challenges, a smirk on his face. He grabs Zeke's arm, channeling his energy. Zeke counters, activating his own abilities. An assassin appears, attempting to attack Zeke. Zeke easily deflects the attack, his movements swift and precise. Irk! The assassin is caught off guard. This kid's got tricks. My instincts are screaming at me. He realizes the danger he's in. Skill, swift steps activated. Skill, precise stab activated. Skill, critical strike activated. Zeke's system announces a flurry of attacks. The assassin is overwhelmed, realizing that he's outmatched. That if I don't kill him, he'll kill me. He thinks, his survival instincts kicking in. The drunken man intervenes, grabbing the assassin's arm. Your ability to adapt to the situation is impressive. He commends Zeke. Almost like a mercenary, he observes, a hint of recognition in his voice. Just who the hell is he? Zeke wonders, his guard up. The mysterious drunk man deflects the assassin's attack, sending the blade flying. He then engages Zeke in a brief but intense exchange. Just who the hell is he? Zeke wonders, taken aback by the man's intervention. Mercenary? He recalls the man's earlier words, questioning their significance. Does he know something about my past life? He ponders, suspecting a deeper connection. The man picks up Zeke's discarded sword, commenting on his decision to abandon it. A Draker has abandoned his sword and stepped back. He remarks, I think you are better suited to be a mercenary than a knight. He suggests, throwing the sword back to Zeke. That's what he meant. Zeke realizes, understanding the man's earlier comment about mercenaries. I've never felt this since Master. The assassin comments, impressed by the man's skill. I'm sure of it after our brief fight. There's an overwhelming gap between our abilities. He acknowledges the man's superior strength. Even if he wanted to, this guy could easily kill me. He's at least a red knight. He assesses the man's power level. Zeke notices the assassin's claymore, a basic weapon supplied by the cradle. You're talented. What are you doing with a weapon like that? The assassin questions Zeke's choice of weapon. No, perhaps even stronger. He reconsiders, realizing Zeke's potential. Zeke retreats to his room, startled by the encounter. So this is where you were. A voice calls out. He turns to see Andre standing at the doorway. Andre? He questions, surprised by the unexpected visit. Why is this guy? He wonders, confused by Andre's presence. His thoughts are interrupted by the appearance of the mysterious drunk man, who is now being referred to as Garden Keeper Dexter. How did you know I was here, you leech-like bastard? The man, now identified as Dexter, asks Andre. You were at the training room earlier. Andre replies. You sure are annoyingly quick-witted. Dexter comments. If you're done getting treated, you can return, cadet. Andre addresses Zeke. Yes, sir. Understood. Zeke replies, still bewildered by the situation. Kid. Dexter calls out, stopping Zeke. If you have time, come to the Academy's western greenhouse. He extends an invitation. I'll teach you something useful. He offers, a hint of mischief in his voice. Andre is confused. No thanks. Zeke declines, wary of the mysterious man. Would you look at that mouth of yours? Dexter exclaims, feigning offense. Your personality is the same as Arthur's too. He compares Zeke to the current patriarch of the Draker family. Garden Keeper Dexter? Zeke questions, trying to understand the man's identity. Who is he trying to fool? He wonders. If he has the rank to call the current patriarch Arthur so easily, he reasons. So you're Arthur's youngest son. Dexter says, confirming Zeke's suspicion. Then he must be the person who only had one disciple, Andre realizes. Throughout his entire life, he adds. Duke Draker, he addresses Dexter with his proper title. The Gale Knight. He acknowledges Dexter's legendary status. One of the Black Knights who have the martial force to go against a whole kingdom alone. He explains Dexter's power and influence. He was quite the talk of the town for disappearing one day without a word, Andre continues. But to think he was leading a secluded life at the academy. Perhaps Andre came here because of him. He speculates on the reason for his own presence. When you say Duke, do you mean a man with frightening tenacity? Zeke asks, seeking clarification. There is even a rumor that he obtained Black Knight status just because he liked the color black. Dexter adds, fueling the rumors surrounding his past. That must be a false rumor, right? Zeke questions, finding it hard to believe. Right now, Duke is showing a strong interest in me. Dexter reveals, changing the subject. But receiving light teaching due to simple interest is something I have no interest in. He dismisses the idea of superficial training. If I'm going to learn something, I should at least learn his secret move. He expresses his desire for deeper knowledge. I'm going to change that interest into tenacity. He declares his intention to earn Dexter's respect. The scene shifts to the academy, where the magic theory professor, Fanon, is teaching a class. Haha, and no one? He asks, met with sleepy indifference from the students. Haha, right? He continues his lecture. When forming mana formulas, due to the resistance, you actually take damage. He explains a magical concept. Oh, and I don't understand the mana transfer energy law you mentioned earlier. Zeke interjects, raising his hand. Oh! Fanon is surprised by the question. Professor? He beams, delighted by Zeke's engagement. Oh, sorry. It's my first time getting a question, so. He apologizes for his excitement. For mana transfer, to explain the concept. He begins to explain. Oh, that's interesting too. That's how mana is. Zeke mutters, absorbing the information. Why are we learning about magic theory at a night academy? A student complains. It's nap time, actually. Another adds, yawning. That was an easy-to-understand lecture. He's no ordinary professor. A third student comments, impressed by Fanon's teaching. Vous êtes, Zeke. Fanon calls out, stopping Zeke from leaving. What's wrong, Professor? Zeke asks. It's nothing much. Fanon stammers. I just feel like I had a proper class for the first time in a while because of you. He expresses his gratitude. So if you ever have anything you're curious about, come to my research lab at any time. He extends an invitation. I'm still a Delphoa Magic University Scholarship alumnus, so I know lots. He boasts his credentials. Exclamation point. Zeke is surprised. I thought he wouldn't be an ordinary mage, but to think he'd be an alum from the Magic University of Delphoa, the nation where magic originated. He recognizes the significance of Fanon's background. I understand, Professor. He accepts the invitation. There's nothing bad about getting close to a mage. Zeke thinks as he walks away. Mages who are good at math are usually flexible thinkers. He observes. They're better suited as colleagues than stuffy knights. He prefers the company of mages. Fanon, who? He considers the potential benefits of his connection with the professor. I should see if he'll be useful. He decides to explore this new avenue. He's less patient than I thought. A voice comments, observing Zeke from afar. It's only been around a week, right? It's revealed to be Dexter, who is still keeping an eye on Zeke. Is it done, kid? He asks, addressing someone off-screen. Why didn't you come to the greenhouse? Zeke confronts Dexter, who is lounging nearby. You must have understood what I meant when I said I'd teach you some useful things. Dexter says, a hint of reproach in his voice. I told you, I'm not interested. Zeke reiterates his disinterest. What? Why? Dexter is flabbergasted. I'm aware that you're incredibly talented, Zeke acknowledges Dexter's abilities. But I'm busy with individual training right now. He explains his priorities. Of course, you can't slack off when it comes to personal training. Dexter agrees, understanding. Is that what you thought I'd say? He asks, a surge of energy emanating from him. Zeke is startled by the sudden display of power. Dexter grabs him, despite his attempt to resist. Ugh! Zeke groans, struggling against Dexter's grip. To think he'd just knock me out. He thinks, realizing he underestimated Dexter's strength. Ugh! I guess waiting for a week was a lot for him. He acknowledges Dexter's impatience. Then is this the Western greenhouse? He observes his surroundings, realizing where he's been taken. You up, kid? Dexter asks, pouring water on him. Did you abduct me? Zeke asks, still groggy. Yes, I have abducted you. Dexter confirms, casually drinking. I'm a bit interested in you, kid. He admits, his gaze fixed on Zeke. He's not even hiding it now. Zeke thinks, noticing Dexter's undisguised interest. It seems he's quite impatient. He observes. Zeke activates his swift steps, attempting to escape. Peekaboo. Dexter intercepts him effortlessly, grabbing him once again. Zeke tries to counter, but Dexter easily overpowers him. He's still treating me as a joke. Zeke realizes, frustrated by his inability to land a hit. I need something to light a fire. Dexter muses, still searching for a way to truly test Zeke. What about me has drawn your interest? Zeke asks, trying to understand Dexter's motives. I asked you how your internal wounds healed instantaneously. Dexter reminds him. Exclamation point. Zeke is startled. So that's what bothered him. He realizes. If you're that curious, make me answer you. Dexter challenges, a smirk on his face. Zeke is caught off guard. He's disappeared. He observes as Dexter moves with incredible speed. Zeke searches for Dexter, using his enhanced senses. He parries an attack, but is struck from behind. He blocks another blow, but is thrown to the ground. What are you doing? He questions Dexter's relentless assault. You told me to make you answer me. Dexter replies, walking towards him. But that's too easy, so let's make a bet. He proposes a wager. If you graze even a single piece of my clothes, I'll grant you one wish. He offers, raising the stakes. Like master, like disciple. Zeke thinks, recognizing a familiar pattern. But if you give up on this duel, you have to tell me everything you're hiding. Dexter adds his condition, his eyes gleaming with intensity. Zeke, despite being overwhelmed, continues to evade Dexter's attacks. His movements swift and agile. Just what is that kid made out of? Dexter wonders, impressed by Zeke's resilience. It's already been 3 hours. He notes the duration of there. He doesn't just have good stamina and endurance. He observes. It's that his stamina and wounds are being limitlessly recovered. He realizes the extent of Zeke's healing abilities. That kid. He stares intently at Zeke. Zeke, pushed to his limits, activates his class skills. Class skill, healing factor activated. Class skill, infinite stamina activated. I'll be able to keep going all day long, he thinks, confident in his abilities. But I can't beat the bet. He acknowledges the challenge. He decides to use his draconian skill, Might of the Dragon. It seemed dangerous, so I've never used it, he admits. But against a Black Knight, that won't be a problem. He deems it necessary. He unleashes the skill, his eyes glowing with power. Let's keep going. He challenges Dexter. His gaze. Dexter notices a change in Zeke's demeanor. Yes, that's how you should be. He approves, excited by the challenge. Zeke attacks with renewed vigor, utilizing his swift steps. He manages to land a hit on Dexter, surprising the older man. He's repeating the same attacks. Dexter observes. He may be fast compared to that leech bastard of the Turin girl, he's nothing. He compares Zeke to Reyna. But this spite, he notices a fierce determination in Zeke's eyes. His spite surpasses tenacity. I love it. He admires Zeke's spirit. Should we use a bit of aura? He considers escalating the fight. He activates his own draconian skill, Might of the Dragon, further intensifying the battle. Zeke and Dexter clash, their movements blurring. What just? Dexter is momentarily stunned by Zeke's power. He creates a dust cloud to obscure Zeke's vision, but realizes it will hinder him as well. Zeke uses his dragon eyes, 25, 26, piercing through the dust. He launches another attack, striking Dexter's arm. He leaves a distinct mark on the ground, showcasing his speed. Is this Duke's secret move? Zeke wonders, recognizing the technique. A simple dash caused a gust. He observes the power behind Dexter's movements. Is this why he's known as the Gale Knight? He realizes the origin of Dexter's title. Let's? Dexter begins, a sinister grin on his face. What? Zeke is startled as Dexter appears behind him. Dexter delivers a powerful blow, sending Zeke flying and coughing up blood. Zeke's sword is sent flying away. Ugh! He lands hard on the ground. Due to excessive skill use, your fatigue has surpassed the acceptable limit. The system warns him. Wow! Like master, like disciple, really. He acknowledges his defeat. For your safety, your consciousness will be forcefully shut down. The system announces. Shit! Zeke curses as he loses consciousness. Zeke awakens in his room, disoriented and in pain. This is my room. Did Duke bring me here? He wonders, piecing together what happened. Ha! I almost won. He laments his near victory. As expected of a Black Knight, he acknowledges Dexter's strength. I think I did everything I could right now, and it was useless. He reflects on his efforts, trying to get Duke to put his guard down by repeating the same attack 100 times over, and at the decisive moment, making a gap using Might of the Dragon on top of using Dragon Eyes to strike him, but it wasn't enough. He analyzes his strategy. That skill Duke used at the end, it was definitely his secret move. He confirms his earlier suspicion. I did get knocked unconscious for using the draconian skills too excessively. He admits. But thanks to that, I got to see his secret move. He finds a silver lining. The nonsensical high-speed movement arts he used with his extremely trained body. He recalls Dexter's technique. That secret move must have been the one that allowed Andre, who has weak stamina, to rise to the position of Red Knight. He connects the dots. It's a shame that I lost the opportunity to learn his secret move, but it was still worthwhile. He accepts the outcome. Might of the Dragon. He reflects on the powerful skill. With pressure that makes even a Black Knight hesitate, most small fries would submit the moment they are exposed to this skill. He understands its intimidating nature. He notices a message from the system. You have an unopened message. Confirm? The system prompts him. An unopened message? He wonders. The rank D skill Swift Steps has changed into the rank C skill, High Speed Movement. The system announces, your soul has developed due to the demonstration of your strong will. Along with the development of your soul, your system functions are activated. It is possible to activate the next function using karma points. He receives a series of upgrades. What? He is overwhelmed by the sudden changes. Mini-map. The geographical terrain features can be seen through the form of a map. Locked. 20 points to unlock. Inventory. Can save as many items as can be accommodated. Locked. 20 points to unlock. Elementary level quest book. Includes tutorials and missions for the effective development of low-ranking administrators. Locked. 45 points to unlock. He sees a list of new features. Current karma points, 40. The system displays his current points. A bunch of things just popped up. He observes. By the descriptions, other than inventory. He trails off. Let's check inventory first. He decides to explore the inventory function. Activate inventory? Yes. No. He selects yes. You have activated the inventory function. The system confirms. If you select the items you want, they will be stored in the inventory. When retrieving items stored in the inventory, you can think of the name or shape of the item. He receives instructions on how to use the inventory. He sees a grid-like interface. The amount of space the item takes in the inventory is dependent on the weight and size of it. The system explains. If you want a larger storage space, you can use karma points to increase the size of your inventory. He learns about the limitations and upgrade options. Select the item I want. He tests the function. I can activate skills just by thinking of them, so putting them into the inventory must be the same. He assumes. Save, save, save. He puts his sword into the inventory. The claymore disappears, and 2 boxes light up in the inventory. The claymore disappeared and took up 2 of the 28 boxes in the inventory. He observes. So this is what the system meant when it said that the space the item takes is dependent on the weight and size of it. To retrieve it, I need to think of its name or form. He tests the retrieval process. Oh! The claymore reappears. I thought of it as a subspace storage, but it's better. He is impressed by the inventory's functionality. That artifact was expensive, sure, but it was hard finding an object to store it in. He recalls a past experience. And I can even increase the space of the inventory by using points. He appreciates the upgrade option. This OP function is only low-rank administrator status window. Name, Vic Draker. Class, Immortal Unique. Title, the one who received the blessing of the ancient dragon. A low-rank administrator function. He reads his status window. What happens when I reach a higher rank? He wonders about future possibilities. If the worth of these points are this high, then I can't just recklessly use them. He realizes the value of his karma points. I think I'll have to change up my plans. He decides to adjust his strategy. Can I come in, young master? Decker's voice comes from outside his door. Decker? Zeke is surprised. Come in. He grants permission. What is it? He asks. There's a message for you. Decker informs him. He said you'd know who it's from if I said Garden Keeper Dexter. He relays the message. Exclamation point. Zeke is intrigued. He smirks. I guess it wasn't a complete fail. He thinks, seeing a positive outcome. The message reads, Kid, if you want to challenge me again, come whenever. Let's call this a draw, kid. Dexter says, appearing in the room. Is that what he meant by a draw? Zeke questions. Anyway, the opportunity still remains. He decides to accept the challenge. I have one more thing to tell you. Decker says, interrupting the exchange. Question mark. Zeke is curious. I found the blacksmith you mentioned before. Decker reveals. Oh, really? When's the appointment? Zeke is excited. There is a problem. Decker hesitates. The blacksmith refused the appointment. He delivers the bad news. What? Why? Zeke is shocked and disappointed. The scene shifts to a rundown blacksmith shop, where a lone blacksmith is refusing to make weapons anymore. Zeke arrives at the blacksmith's workshop, a modest building with a sign that reads Papner's Breath. It's been a while, he remarks, taking in the familiar sight. Haha, it sure is a grand name for a workshop. He comments on the shop's name. Anyone in? He calls out, entering the workshop. The interior is filled with various weapons and tools, a testament to the blacksmith's skill. The Sword of Radiance, Graham. A voice narrates. It's the masterpiece Galleon has forged. He said it was payment for saving his life. Fitting of the title Blacksmith of the Soul, it was said he read the souls of the user before making their weapon. The narration explains Galleon's unique ability. And he lived up to that name, creating a sword that possessed the ability I needed most. The ability to replace ether with aura. The narration reveals the special property of Galleon's creation. The greatest blacksmith in the continent who made that sword. The narrator's voice trails off as Zeke approaches the blacksmith, Galleon Halbert, who is in a drunken stupor. What is with his state right now? Zeke exclaims, surprised by Galleon's condition. What the? It's just a kid. Galleon grumbles, annoyed by the interruption. This isn't a place for children, so get out. He shoos Zeke away. While he was a person who had a moody temperament, it wasn't to this extreme. Zeke remembers Galleon's past personality. He observes the changes in the workshop, noting the disarray. Just what happened before he met me exactly? He wonders about the events that led to Galleon's current state. Galleon continues to drink, splashing water on himself. He throws bottles around the workshop, 11, 12, creating a mess. Are you awake now? Zeke asks, his tone laced with sarcasm. He approaches Galleon, determined to get answers. I want to know why you rejected my commission. He demands. Did he, Draker? Galleon stammers, recognizing Zeke's status. He bows before Zeke, apologizing for his behavior. And my apologies for showing such discourtesy. He grovels. Forgive my insolence, but I am not taking commissions at this moment. He explains his refusal. How can a bastard create what someone else wants? He expresses his self-doubt. If he can't even make what he himself wants. He questions his own abilities. So even Galleon had a period like this. Zeke reflects, understanding Galleon's struggles. Now that I think about it, he was already the greatest blacksmith in the continent back when I met him, and Galleon never told me what kind of life he led before that. He realizes the gaps in his knowledge. He probably didn't want to share this embarrassing past. He speculates on Galleon's reasons for secrecy. But I can't just wait 10 years for him to come around. He acknowledges the urgency of his situation. Why am I so useless? Can I even make weapons again? Galleon's self-deprecating words echo in the workshop. A blacksmith who can't make weapons. He laments his perceived inadequacy. Galleon Halbert, Zeke shouts, trying to snap him out of his despair. Please forgive me for showing you behavior so disgraceful. Galleon apologizes again. Worry not. Zeke reassures him. I wish to see some of your failures. He makes an unusual request. I'll guide you to the back. Galleon leads Zeke to the back of the workshop. There's no helping it. He mutters. I must guide him to the right path myself. Zeke thinks, determined to help Galleon. I apologize, sire. Galleon says, as they walk through the cluttered workshop. I shouldn't have left things so cluttered. Haha, it's fine. Zeke reassures him. It's charming, if anything. He compliments the chaotic environment. Thank you. Galleon appreciates the kind words. They reach an area filled with discarded weapons. Then, Galleon begins. Be careful, sir. He warns Zeke. Even if they're failed works, they're still sharp. He cautions him about the dangerous environment. Zeke examines the weapons, recognizing their quality. This and this? No. These are not failures. He contradicts Galleon's assessment. They're of similar quality to the things he forged when he was named the best in the continent. He observes. He activates his draconian skill, Dragon Eyes, to analyze the weapons further. As I thought, he confirms his initial assessment. Is there a problem with your brazier? Zeke asks, noticing a potential issue. Galleon is surprised. How did you? He stammers. I asked you a question. Zeke presses for an answer. You utilize your own style of smelting, correct? He demonstrates his knowledge of Galleon's techniques. Galleon is speechless. It seems you've mixed several metals to create a lighter and exquisite material. Zeke continues his analysis. He examines the weapons, noticing a flaw. But the durability is weak. He points out the issue. In cases like these, it's because impurities haven't been properly eliminated during the heat treatment process. He explains the cause of the problem. That's accurate, Galleon confirms, impressed by Zeke's knowledge. Not only did he recognize my smelting method immediately, he even analyzed the major flaw and its cause. He marvels at Zeke's expertise. If it's this person, then perhaps. He begins to hope. Sire, Galleon exclaims, bowing deeply. This might be a bit, very random, but I have something to ask of you. He makes a request. So what is it? Zeke asks, curious. Galleon presents a blueprint. Could you see this first? He asks. Zeke examines the blueprint. This is Galleon's secret, which he revealed years later. The narration explains. A blueprint of a magic brazier. The blueprint depicts a complex device. Ha ha ha! What is there to hide from the one who saved my life? Galleon laughs. A brazier where the temperature can freely be adjusted through magic. My secret is this. He reveals his invention. With this, your smelting method would work perfectly. Zeke recognizes the potential of the magic brazier. Indeed. I knew you'd recognize it immediately. Galleon is pleased. You have the full blueprints, so why aren't you making it? Zeke questions. The most important part, the mana energy law blueprint, remains. Galleon admits. But the magic tower's commission fee is 10,000 gold. He reveals the obstacle. Zeke is shocked by the exorbitant price. A normal 4-member family's monthly living expenses is 10 gold. The narration explains. That's 1,000 times as much. So it took him 10 years to gather that much money, huh? Zeke realizes the time and effort required. That price is absurd. He sympathizes with Galleon's predicament. That's why I wanted to ask you something. Galleon begins. You're a Draker, and a pure-blooded awakener at that. He reminds Zeke of his status. So if you were to make me the brazier, I will create any commission of yours for free, and without conditions. He proposes a deal. For as long as I live. He offers his lifelong service. This is tricky. Zeke contemplates the offer. It'd be possible if I were the family's guardian knight. But it's impossible for me, even as a pureblood, to receive the support of 10,000 gold. He assesses the feasibility of the request. But it's not like I can give up on Graham, the Sword of Radiance. He expresses his desire for the legendary sword. His issue is regarding mana energy laws. He recalls the missing piece of the blueprint. Wait. He has an idea. Mana energy laws? He smirks, realizing a potential solution. Very well, I'll accept. He agrees to Galleon's proposal. He rolls up the blueprint. Truly, sire? Galleon is overjoyed. I can ask a favor from a mage I know. I'll let you know when I get an answer. Zeke explains his plan. And stop drinking, he adds a condition. Thank you. Thank you, sir. Galleon expresses his gratitude, overcome with emotion. This Galleon will serve you for the rest of your life as his savior. He pledges his loyalty. Hey, you're snot. Zeke recoils from Galleon's enthusiastic display. Thank you, sir. Sniff. Gosh, I got it. So stop. Galleon continues to express his thanks. I'll contact you once it's complete. He promises to keep Zeke updated. The scene shifts to the Draker Academy's professorial research buildings. Why did the Mage Tower demand such a high commission fee when the structure itself seemed simple? Zeke wonders as he walks through the academy grounds. Fannin's major was design of mana energy laws. He recalls Professor Fannin's expertise. His research lab was. He searches for Fannin's lab. He stops in front of a building, his eyes widening. In that alley, he spots something familiar. He sees several students gathered in an alley, including Leon Conrad. I am sorry. A student pleads, being held down by Leon's subordinates. What? Leischnersch. The student cries out in pain. I apologize, Sir Leon Conrad. He begs for forgiveness. My lowly self put a hand on your body. Yes. Nicely said, Zeke. Leon mocks, twisting the student's arm. As a reward, I'll give you the opportunity to clean up the land you dirted. He offers a cruel punishment. Thank you, Sir Leon Conrad. The student is forced to comply. For fuck's sake, Zeke mutters, witnessing the scene. Vermin like you are a hindrance. Just by existing. Leon rants, kicking the student repeatedly. That bastard Zeke is the same. He expresses his hatred for Zeke. An unprecedented golden light reaction. He mocks Zeke's unique awakening. A pure-blooded awakening that surpassed all others? He continues his tirade. Cut the bullshit, he shouts, kicking the student again. The loss against that inferior vermin couldn't be helped since there was that hit through the surprise attack before it began. But how did a recessive bastard who beat me by luck because a pure-blooded awakener? 79, 80. He vents his frustration and disbelief. Wow. Hey, Freckle. Leon notices Zeke. The other students are startled. You already found a replacement for me? Zeke asks, a smirk on his face. I'll give you all 3 seconds, so you better plant your heads onto the ground. He warns them, his aura flaring. Leon's arrogance had grown immensely since Zeke's pure-blood awakening, and he was taking his anger out on other students. Drop down or else, Zeke warns Leon and his lackeys, his eyes glowing with a menacing aura. Leon is momentarily intimidated, feeling a strange pressure from Zeke. Just a few months ago, he was crawling between my legs. And yet I'm scared, he thinks, confused by his own fear. How dare you tell me what to do, you inferior bastard? He shouts, trying to regain his composure. What are you doing? Attack him. He orders his followers to attack Zeke. Ha! Don't blame me for this, got it? Zeke sighs, preparing to fight. He grabs one of the attackers, delivering a swift kick. He then throws the student into another, 13, 14, 15, sending them flying. 16, 17, 18, 19. Leon is shocked, unable to comprehend what just happened. Is this bastard really the Zeke Draker I know? He questions, doubting his own eyes. There's no need to be scared, Zeke says, approaching the fallen students. I'm sure you already know. It only hurts for a moment. He reassures them, a hint of mockery in his voice. Leon, enraged, draws his sword. Stay away, he shouts, brandishing his weapon. I'll cut you if you come closer, he threatens. Are you really drawing your sword out in the training arena? Zeke questions, his eyes narrowed. You do know what this means, right? He challenges Leon. In order to face the murderous intent of Leon Conrad, who has unsheathed his sword outside of the holy training arena, he begins to recite the rules of engagement. Wait. Leon interrupts, realizing the gravity of the situation. I, Zeke Draker, Zeke continues, his voice resonating with power, will retaliate in the name of honor. He declares, drawing his own sword. The following battle will end once one of us is faced with death. He states the terms of the duel. All responsibility lies within ourselves, and the opponent takes no responsibility for the outcome to follow. He clarifies the consequences. Liam Stone, you are the witness. He addresses Liam, who is lying on the ground. Now then, let's continue. He prepares to strike. I am sorry. Leon stammers, dropping his sword and kneeling. Sir Zeke Draker, please let me live. He begs for mercy. Just let me go, he pleads, prostrating himself before Zeke. I am sorry, Leon Conrad. He apologizes to Leon, his voice trembling. Please let me live. He continues to beg. This foolish bastard. Leon thinks, disgusted by his own subordinate's cowardice. Zeke slices off Leon's ear, ignoring his pleas. I'll be taking your ear as payment, he declares, his voice cold. Qua! Leon screams in agony. And my ear, he cries, clutching his bleeding wound. If your ear is reattached when we meet again, Zeke warns, grabbing Leon's hair. What I'll be taking next won't be your ear, but your head. He threatens, his eyes filled with malice. He then kicks Leon in the head. Phew. Zeke sighs, releasing Leon. Zeke. Liam calls out, approaching him. Why? He pauses, unsure of what to say. Why did you help me? He finally asks. Don't worry about it, Zeke replies, turning away. I wasn't helping you. I was helping myself. He clarifies, a hint of self-deprecation in his voice. Ha! Did Galleon rub off on me? He wonders, scratching his head. I almost said something embarrassing out loud. He admits, reflecting on his uncharacteristic behavior. The scene shifts to Professor Fannon's research lab. Will this be possible, Professor? Zeke asks, showing Fannon the blueprint of the magic brazier. Fannon examines the blueprint. Let me get to the point. It should be possible. He answers, pointing to a specific part of the design. Really? Then I'd like to leave this with you, Zeke says, handing over the blueprint. Wait, I think it would be better if you listen to my explanation first. Fannon suggests, adjusting his glasses. Just like you said, the overall composition is simple. He explains, tracing the lines on the blueprint. However, the problem is the core in charge of power output. He points out the critical component. The core is considered the heart of this machine, he continues. But the following circuit has extremely tricky restrictions. He highlights the complexity of the design. It may be small, but it requires enough power, he explains the core's requirements. And we'll also need a way to adjust the output without delay. He adds another challenge. This is unprecedented. Yes, there are two options. Fanon replies, leaning back in his chair. Given the condition of the core, I could personally adjust your design. He offers the first solution. However, it would take at least a decade to redo the design for the core. He explains the drawback. No, it'll take around 15 years. He corrects himself. 15 years? Zeke exclaims, shocked by the time frame. Yes, it will take an incredible amount of time. Fanon confirms. As for the second method, Fanon begins, pouring ink into a container. We can avoid designing the core and use an alternative material. He proposes a different approach. But even though doing this would save a lot of time, he continues, the material needed, he trails off, looking at Zeke, is a high-compression mana stone. He reveals the required material. What? Zeke is stunned. Isn't that an ancient artifact that can't be made with modern technology? He questions, realizing the rarity of the material. Correct. Ancient relics are already rare. Fanon confirms. However, finding artifacts in ruins is even harder. He adds, creating a magical effect with the ink. To come across a mana stone that can withstand our design. He explains the difficulty of finding a suitable stone. It would cost over 3,000 gold. He reveals the exorbitant price. Zeke is silent, contemplating his options. I might get kicked out if someone finds out that I can't use aura, he thinks, worried about his secret being exposed. But 15 years is way too long. He acknowledges the impracticality of the first option. However, 3,000 gold is too high. He also recognizes the financial burden of the second option. I can't believe it. I can't just give up on Graham, the Sword of Radiance. He expresses his frustration and determination. But that was merely a reaction created with ether and healing. He reminds himself of his limitations. The fact that I'm unable to use aura still remains the same. He acknowledges his inability to use aura. Ether is considered to be a difficult power to be controlled by humans. He explains the nature of ether. However, excluding the skill spirit of the soul that Master taught me, I can't use any sword skill that utilizes aura. He reiterates his reliance on his master's teachings. Even with that skill, I can only reinforce and swing my body around. He describes the limitations of his abilities. Compared to ether, aura is easier to use and more versatile. He contrasts the two powers. That's why I need Graham, the Sword of Radiance. He reaffirms his need for the legendary sword. Damn it! How am I supposed to get a high-compression mana stone? He curses, frustrated by the seemingly insurmountable obstacle. By the way, the creator of these blueprints is amazing. Fanon comments, changing the subject. Even taking the complicated core into account, it's an efficient design. He praises Galleon's work. This would be difficult to create, even among the Golden Age relics. He compares the design to ancient artifacts. A Golden Age relic? Zeke exclaims, an idea forming in his mind. Yeah, why didn't I think about that before? He realizes a potential solution. Please take care of the designs until I'm back, Professor. He instructs Fanon, getting up from his seat. Fanon is surprised by Zeke's sudden departure. What do you mean? He asks, confused. You want me to take 15 years to complete the design? He questions Zeke's intentions. Ha ha ha, of course not. Zeke laughs, waving his hand dismissively. I'll bring one, he declares, a confident smirk on his face. A high-compression mana stone, I mean. He clarifies his goal. The Golden Age. A voice narrates a historical period. The Liberation War sought to escape the rule of dragons. The narrator describes a significant war. Ended with the death of the evil dragon Calamity by Tarek and Draker. The outcome of the war is revealed, granting humanity a century of peace. The impact of the war is described. During that time, the ancient relics uncovered within the dragon's lair were the remnants of the age of the Hero King, the prime age of magic. The narrator explains the origin of ancient relics. All the discovered relics and technology had magic that surpassed modern standards. The advanced nature of the relics is highlighted. Among them was the high-compression mana stone, capable sustaining the mana needs of an entire village. A specific relic, the high-compression mana stone, is mentioned. A relic from the age of the Hero King. The stone's historical significance is emphasized. The scene shifts to the Draker Academy Central Library. Despite being rarely used, the Central Library continued to be maintained as it is believed to have been established by Tarakan himself. The library's history and current state are described. During the expansion of a records room, relics from the Golden Age were discovered. A significant discovery is revealed. This led to the involvement of the Magic Tower and the Archmage of Nirvana and members of the 5 great families in the excavation. The key players involved in the excavation are mentioned. During those few months, countless relics from the Golden Age were found, and news of it spread through the Continental newsletter. The extent of the discovery and its publicity are described. Or at least, that's what would happen 10 years later. The narrator hints at future events. Zeke is seen walking through the Central Library records room. Nobody has discovered the relics, yet nor are they even aware of them. He reflects on the current situation. I could look for it all day, and I still wouldn't be able to find it. He expresses his frustration. He activates his Dragon Eyes skill. He scans the room, his eyes glowing with power. Bingo! He spots something of interest. It should sound hollow when I tap it. Yes, this is it. He confirms his finding. Zeke uses his Soul of the Spirit skill to cut through a wall. The only ether application for the Soul of Spirit skill I learned from my master. He explains the technique he's using. Since ether materializes a user's will, it is possible to apply certain properties like cut and use it in different scenarios. He describes the properties of ether. However, it has its drawbacks, as the user must expend a large amount of ether to perform any action. He acknowledges the limitations of the skill. I guess using the Soul of the Spirit is too much. He feels the strain of using the skill. He breaks through the wall, 17, 18, 19, revealing a hidden passage. He lights a torch, illuminating the dark passage. He is startled by something he sees. He cautiously climbs down into the passage. It should be at least a decade before someone finds this place. He reminds himself of the timeline. Could someone have found this place before that? He wonders, noticing something amiss. He encounters skeletons holding shovels and pickaxes. Skeletons? He exclaims, surprised by the sight. They're holding shovels and pickaxes. He observes the skeleton's tools. All right, looks like it's not made by a lich. He reassures himself. If that's the case, he draws his sword, preparing to fight. Skill Critical Strike has been activated. The system announces. This should be easy. He confidently attacks the skeletons. He effortlessly defeats them. He notices a message from the system. For defeating 2 skeletons, you have earned 2 karma points. The system informs him of his reward. Oh, he is surprised. Oh right, he remembers something important. I can earn points by killing monsters. He realizes a new way to gain karma points. It slipped off my mind because I was focused on the artifact. He admits his oversight. Wait a minute. He has an idea. Isn't this a good chance to farm for points? He sees an opportunity. I'll be right there. My lovely points. He excitedly runs off to fight more skeletons. He easily defeats more skeletons. For defeating 1 skeleton, you have earned 1 karma point. Skeletons defeated, 20. This is easy. The system updates him on his progress. He checks his status window. Let's look into it in case I find anything to unlock with my points. He decides to explore his options. The beginner quest book is for 45 and the minimap is for 20. The draconian skill, Devour, and the level 2 lock skill each require 50 points. He reviews the requirements for unlocking new features. I guess I can only purchase the minimap at the moment. He concludes. He activates the minimap feature. The minimap feature has been activated. The system confirms. He is amazed by the minimap. It's similar to a magic map. He compares it to a familiar tool. What's this? He notices something unusual on the map. The mini-map has been converted from 2D to 3D. The system announces. He is further impressed by the map's capabilities. Amazing! This is what I'm talking about. He expresses his excitement. But, he notices a detail. Why is that the only room in a different color? He questions the red-colored room on the map. Would you like directions to the selected Grave of the Dragonslayer storage room? Yes. No. The system offers guidance. Storage room? He is intrigued by the name. It took the search party days to find this, but I found its location with ease. He marvels at the minimap's efficiency. We will now provide the quickest route to your destination. The system begins navigation. He is guided to the storage room. Haha, I can't believe this. He laughs, enjoying the convenience. How would I lose my way with this? He expresses his confidence. You have arrived at your destination. The system announces. I guess I'm here, but... He looks at the imposing door. How am I supposed to get inside this place? He wonders how to enter. Looks like it won't open just by pushing it. He tries to open the door. He attempts to use his magic, but triggers a security spell. A security spell. He realizes the obstacle. The reason the magic tower and the Archmage of Nirvana were involved. He recalls the previous excavation. It must be because of this door. He connects the dots. I would have lost my hand if it weren't for my gloves. He acknowledges the protection his gloves provide. Ha! I won't be able to get through the spell. He admits defeat. System, can't you open it for me? He asks the system for help. We have received the administrator's request. As such, we will connect with the security device. The system agrees to assist. What? He is surprised. The security spell is being deactivated. The activation of the automatic device has been unsuccessful. We will now activate the manual device. The system reports its progress. Wait, are you? He begins to understand. Responding to what I just said, he questions the system's capabilities. Yes, I am. Do you have any more requests, Administrator Zeke Draker? The system confirms. I can talk with the system? He is astonished. If that's the case, he decides to ask a question. Why did you force me to regress? He inquires about his time travel. I cannot answer the following question. The system refuses to answer. What is this administrator system? He asks another question. I cannot answer the following question. The system remains unhelpful. Who made you? He tries a different question. I cannot answer the following question. The system still refuses. Do you have any more requests, Administrator Zeke Draker? The system prompts him. Damn it! He curses, frustrated by the lack of answers. I'm not getting the answers for any important questions. He complains. Just open the door. He gives up on questioning and focuses on the task at hand. We have confirmed the administrator's request. The system acknowledges. Grave of the Dragonslayer storage room has been opened. The system announces. The door opens, revealing a room filled with treasure chests. Whoa, is all of this? He is amazed by the sight. Are treasure chests? He exclaims, excited by the prospect of riches. Treasure chests. A voice narrates. As the name suggests, it's a chest filled with valuable relics and treasures. The narrator explains what treasure chests are. Finding even a single one of these relics would be considered a near miracle. The rarity of the relics is emphasized. Zeke examines a chest, marveling at its contents. Haha, you're telling me there's hundreds of these things. He is overwhelmed by the sheer number of chests. He opens a chest, revealing gold and jewels. I'll take this, he says, taking some of the treasure. Oh, this seems nice, I guess. He finds another valuable item. I can give this to Fanon. He decides to share his findings with the professor. Finally, I found it. He locates what he's been searching for. A high-compression mana stone. He holds up the coveted relic. There's 4 of them? Even better. He is pleased to find multiple stones. I'll use 1 point to expand my inventory by 4 slots. He utilizes his karma points. I still don't have enough space for everything. He realizes the limitations of his inventory. I guess I'll have to come back here regularly until I graduate. He plans to revisit the storage room. This should be enough for today. He decides to leave for now. What is this ominous feeling? He senses something unsettling as he prepares to leave. His hand starts to react, glowing with a strange energy. What is this? He exclaims, startled by the phenomenon. A powerful force surrounds him, emanating from the storage room. Zeke is thrown back by a powerful force, a surge of energy emanating from the storage room. System, where am I? He asks, disoriented and looking around. The system replies, the current location of the administrator is home of the Dragonslayer. The home of the Dragonslayer. He repeats, surprised. I never heard anything about a room filled with coffins in the newsletter. He remarks, noticing the unusual surroundings. He checks the minimap. He studies the map intently. I knew it. He confirms his suspicion. I'm not far from where I was previously. He realizes his location. But there isn't any path connected with the home of the Dragonslayer either. He observes a discrepancy on the map. If that's the case, this could be a hidden area that's never been found before. He deduces, excited by the discovery. I can't ignore this place then. He exclaims, leaping towards the source of the energy. He comes across a set of armor. Armor? He questions, examining it closely. You have found? Dragonslayer exclusive equipment. The system announces. Zeke touches the armor, inspecting its details. Dragonslayer exclusive equipment. He reads the inscription. Well, I guess it is different from the armor from the Golden Age. He compares it to other relics he's encountered. What's this? He notices something peculiar about the armor. There's like a hole, or something. He points out a missing piece. He has a realization. Don't tell me. He suspects a connection. He places one of the high-compression mana stones he found into the hole on the armor. I can't just let this opportunity pass. He says, determined. You have installed a mana battery in the Dragonslayer exclusive equipment. The system confirms. The equipment has been activated. The armor glows with power. The armor activates, emitting a bright light. Humph! Zeke grunts, shielding his eyes. The armor begins to move on its own. Huh! Zeke is startled. What's happening? He exclaims as the armor floats in the air. An overload caused by equipment failure has caused the activation to fail. The system announces. We estimate an explosion will occur in a few moments. We suggest you take cover. The system warns him of impending danger. It already exploded, man. Zeke says, taking cover. We apologize. The system responds. You're telling me a high-compression mana stone was the energy source for these ancient armors? He questions, looking at the destroyed armor. What kind of features did it have? He wonders about the armor's capabilities. That it required such a large energy source. He ponders the connection between the armor and the mana stone. I'll ask Fannin about it later. He decides to seek the professor's expertise. Let's keep searching. He continues his exploration. The other rooms are all empty. He observes after searching more rooms. Looks like this is the last one. He approaches a final room. This glass cube is the only thing in this large room. He notes the unusual object in the center of the room. He checks the minimap. What? He is shocked by what he sees. The map displays the words Tarek and Draker. And this guy, he was crazy. Suddenly, a monstrous form appears on the map. The legacy of Tarek and Draker, heart of the cursed light dragon, Bahamut, has been found. The system announces. A large, beating heart is revealed within the glass cube. To think he left the heart of the dragon he defeated as a dying gift. A voice exclaims. So, this explains the ominous feeling I got when I entered the storage room. Zeke realizes the source of the unsettling energy. But compared to that, he begins to say. He takes a step forward, but something feels different. It's different, he states, sensing a change within himself. The heart of the cursed light dragon, Bahamut, is reacting to the administrator. The system explains. Yes, I hear you. Zeke says, feeling a connection to the heart. A shadowy substance starts to envelop him. Yes, I had no choice. He seems to be communicating with the heart. Yes, I understand. He continues the conversation. Yes, I'll kill them all. He agrees to a mysterious request. Class skill, Indomitable Mental Defense, has been activated. The system announces. Ugh. Ack. He struggles against the heart's influence. Kill them all. He questions the heart's demand. Ah! He cries out in pain. Why would I? He resists the heart's control. He manages to break free from the heart's influence, but is left weakened. What the hell is this? He exclaims, looking at the heart. He tries to escape, but the room is filled with a powerful energy. What's going on? He cries out, as the heart's power intensifies. An urgent quest appears on his interface. Urgent quest. Tarek and Draker's test, defeat the strong curse from Bahamut's heart. Quest reward, ownership over Tarakin's dying gift. He is shocked by the quest prompt. He struggles to regain his composure. Class skill, Indomitable Mental Defense, has been activated. The system announces. Error. The skill activation has failed. The system reports a malfunction. The heart's voice echoes again, repeating the phrase, kill them all. Accept me, and you will be free. The heart offers a tempting proposition. Zeke falls to his knees, fighting against the heart's power. Stop mumbling. You're so annoying. He grits his teeth. You'll give me freedom? He questions the heart's offer. Freedom is won, he declares, his eyes filled with determination. You dumbass. He insults the heart. He shatters the glass cube, confronting the heart directly. You have won against the light dragon's curse. The system announces. You have completed the urgent quest. The system confirms his victory. As a reward, you have obtained ownership over Tarakan's dying gift. The system informs him of his reward. Damn it, that could have been worse. He sighs in relief. To think the skill would fail. He reflects on the near failure of his skill. What the hell was that just now? He wonders about the strange encounter. Class skill healing factor has been activated. Class skill infinite stamina has been activated. The system activates his healing and stamina skills. You have started to absorb Heart of the Cursed Light Dragon, Bahamut. The system announces a new development. Question mark. He is confused. He reaches out and touches the heart. What's happening now? He asks as the heart begins to merge with him. A pure and dense source of mana. He realizes the nature of the heart's power. Is flowing into me. He feels the energy surging through his body. However, I don't have any circles to accept mana. He remembers his limitations. Without a place to be stored, all that mana. He panics. Is destroying my body. He feels the destructive force of the uncontrolled mana. I have to do something. He desperately tries to find a solution. He uses his soul of the spirit skill, attempting to control the mana. I'll use ether to cover the mana, he forms a plan, and seal it in an ether hole. He creates a container for the mana. He successfully seals the heart within himself. 70, 71, 72, he collapses to the ground, exhausted but alive. Phew, I guess I lived. He breathes a sigh of relief. He examines the remnants of the heart's container. The heart is gone. He observes. Looks like that mana was really from Bahamut. He confirms his earlier suspicion. He notices something on the ground. What is this? He picks up a small, dragon-shaped emblem. Did this occur when I sealed Bahamut's mana? He wonders about the emblem's origin. Suddenly, a message appears on his interface. You have absorbed Heart of the Cursed Light Dragon, Bahamut. The system informs him. The absorbed mana has changed the administrator's body. The system explains the transformation. The administrator's constitution has been changed to divine body. The system announces a major upgrade. We have detected a power that you are unable to control. 95% of the power has been compressed and sealed. The system seals the majority of the absorbed power. As a Hurriter, you have the right to open Tarakan Draker's secure library. The system grants him new access. The beginner quest book has been unlocked. The system unlocks a new feature. A tutorial for the low-level administrator has been provided. The system offers guidance. Divine body. He is amazed by his new constitution. Tarakan Draker's secure library, a tutorial? He contemplates the new information. What the hell is all of this? He is overwhelmed by the sudden changes. I'll take a look at everything later. He decides to investigate later. Can you get rid of it for now? He asks the system to clear the messages. Wait. He notices something. Except this one. He points to a specific message. Looks like my ancestor was feeling generous. He smiles, appreciating Tarakan's gift. Would you like to open Tarakan Draker's other dying gift? The system prompts him. Is this? Zeke's eyes widen as he stares at the system interface, his gaze darting across the multitude of new options and information. He walks out of the storage room. He has returned to the Platinum Mansion. He puts a few items into his inventory slots and thinks to himself that this should be good enough. Then, he pulls out the low-rank administrator status window. It displayed his updated status. Name, Fick Draker. Skill, Draconian Skill Level 1. Dragon Eyes Beginner. Devour, locked, 50 points to unlock. Draconian Skill Level 2. Unable to view, 50 points are needed to unlock. Current Karma Points, 10. The system then displays another window. Draconian Skill. Incantation. Your words are engraved with power. Locked. The administrator currently lacks the qualifications. Authority and Constitution. A new feature was added. Zeke touches the interface, his fingers tracing the words. Looks like this incantation can be unlocked once I'm stronger. He deduces, already planning his next steps. The window changes again, displaying information about his authority and constitution. Authority. Dragonic control. You have control over dragonkind. Dragons under your control can be summoned and will follow your orders. Constitution. Divine body. Your body can perform at the highest level. Your rate of learning for combat and the transfer rate of ether within your body have increased. The descriptions aren't really helping. He mutters, finding the explanations somewhat vague. He walks down a grand staircase, still studying the interface. There's also that one window. He thinks, recalling another message. We have detected a power that you are unable to control. 95% of the power has been compressed and sealed. As a Hurriter, you have the right to open Tarakan Draker's secure library. The beginner quest book has been unlocked. Not the second dying gift, but another status window related to Tarakan. He clarifies. System. He calls out. Open that one window related to Tarakan. He commands. A new window appears. In order to open Tarakan Draker's secure library, an information update is needed. It states, Tarakan's secure library? He questions, intrigued. Please move to a location where an information update is possible. The system instructs. Would you like me to mark a location on your minimap? The system offers assistance. Huh? I need to go somewhere for this? He is surprised by the requirement. Show me. He agrees to the system's suggestion. The minimap updates, revealing a marked location. Is that? He recognizes the place. Valhalla? He asks, his voice tinged with apprehension. An image of Valhalla appears, accompanied by a warning. Valhalla. Individuals other than administrators are unable to view, let alone enter, the area. Even I would have trouble entering Valhalla. He admits, recalling the organization's strict security. Ha, he sighs. I wasn't planning on joining Valhalla either. He reaffirms his stance. But if something related to Tarakan's dying gift is there, he looks at the dragon's fang in his hand. It might be worth adjusting my plans. He reconsiders his options. I guess I'll have to keep being a part of this damned family. He resigns himself to his current situation. The beginner quest book has been activated. The system announces. A new interface appears, titled Beginner Quest Book. The tutorial for the low-level administrator will soon start. Once the tutorial is over, a quest will be given to encourage the growth of the administrator. Once the quest is over, you will be given a reward. I obtain a reward once I successfully complete a quest. Zeke reads the information carefully. Looks like it's similar to missions from an adventurer's guild for mercenary assignments. He draws a comparison. But what is this tutorial? He wonders about the upcoming event. The tutorial for the low-level administrator will now begin. The system declares. Zeke is caught off guard. Suddenly, he is enveloped in a bright light, and his surroundings begin to change. A 21. Who? What is this place? He looks around, bewildered by the unfamiliar environment. Have I been teleported like before? He tries to understand what's happening. No, it's different this time. He realizes this experience is unique. It feels like the entire area has changed. He observes the transformation of his surroundings. He finds himself in a strange, digital-like space. Then monstrous orcs appear. Orcs? He exclaims, surprised by the sudden appearance of the creatures. A new window appears. Tutorial quest. Defeat the monsters within the given time frame using 2 or more different skills. Reward points, system store unlock. Time 60 minutes. The system presents the quest details. The sudden appearance of orcs and an appropriate quest. Zeke quickly assesses the situation. Is the tutorial trying to create a situation where I can take advantage of the system? He suspects the tutorial's purpose. It would have been nice if it had this before. He thinks wryly. He engages the orcs in combat, using a combination of swift steps and continuous slash. 30-31. The orcs are powerful, but he moves with incredible speed and precision. He effortlessly dispatches the orcs, his claymore feeling light as a feather. The claymore feels light as a feather. He remarks, Constitution. Divine body. Your body can perform at the highest level. Your rate of learning for combat and the transfer rate of ether within your body have increased. The system reminds him of his enhanced abilities. Is this the effect of having a divine body? He wonders, feeling the difference in his movements. With this, I should be able to easily defeat a purple knight. He assesses his newfound power. You have completed the tutorial quest. The system announces. The digital space begins to dissipate. Oh, I'm back. He finds himself back in the academy. Was that all an illusion? He questions the reality of the tutorial. It felt incredibly real. He reflects on the experience. You have obtained a critical bonus. You have obtained a time bonus. As a quest reward, you have obtained 40 points and access to the shop category. The system informs him of his rewards. I can buy items through the system? He is excited by the new feature. He opens the shop interface. What is this? This is amazing, he exclaims, impressed by the selection of items. Giant's flesh. Breath of a flame giant? He reads the names of powerful-sounding items. There's only rare relics that cost a fortune to buy. He realizes the value of the items available. Could I make a fortune just reselling the items here? He contemplates the potential for profit. He tries to sell his training claymore. Training claymore, this item cannot be sold. The system informs him. He then tries to sell an elven dagger. Elven dagger, would you like to sell this item? Price 4 points. The system confirms. Looks like I can only sell ancient relics. He understands the shop's limitations. 4 points. He considers the price. I could sell this for 100 gold in the auction. He compares the value. I guess I won't use it unless I really need the points. He decides to be strategic about selling items. Phew, today was a long day. He stretches, feeling the fatigue from the day's events. He walks towards his room in the Draker Academy Professor Research Center. 46-47. Looks like I'll get a good night's sleep tonight. He anticipates a restful night. The next day, he goes to see Professor Fannin. You really managed to find a high-compression mana stone within a day. Fannin expresses his astonishment. How did you do it? He asks curious. It's too complicated for me to explain. Zeke replies vaguely. Forget about that. How long will everything take? Zeke asks about the magic brazier. It's already complete. Fannin replies, holding up the finished product. Already? That's incredible. Zeke is impressed by Fannin's speed. I think it's more impressive that you managed to bring this. Fannin trails off, still amazed by Zeke's acquisition of the mana stone. Fannin drinks his tea. Looks like he's suspicious of me. Zeke observes. Fannin begins to explain the intricacies of mana stone registration. Every time high-compression mana stones are found within the continent, they are registered using a variety of ancient texts. He explains, and are used to manage the ownership of some of the more expensive mana stones. He continues, showing Zeke a sample registration number. Thus, by checking the registration number, you are able to confirm where and when the mana stone was found, as well as the current owner. He concludes, however, there's no way the mana stone I'm holding is registered. Fannin states, referring to the stone Zeke brought, that's because I'm the first one to find it. Zeke reveals. Fannin sets down his teacup. The ability to suspect me, rather than blindly believe me, as well as his judgment and skill. He thinks, impressed by Zeke's perceptiveness. Now that you've confirmed the registration number, can we leave? Zeke asks, eager to proceed. Oh, you knew? Fannin is surprised. You're too talented to rot in a place like this. He compliments Zeke. They arrive at Galleon's workshop, Papner's breath. All right, I'll try activating it then. Fannin says, preparing to use the magic brazier. He activates the device, and it emits a powerful glow. Zeke and Fannin are pushed back by the force. Galleon watches with a satisfied smile. They leave the workshop. I have a lecture to attend, so I'll see you later. Fannin says, departing. Thank you, Professor. Zeke calls out in gratitude. To think I would get to see a completed magic brazier in my life. Galleon expresses his amazement. Thank you, sir. He thanks Zeke. It's all part of the deal. Zeke reminds him of their agreement. There's no need to thank me. He adds, I'm sure you haven't forgotten the condition that you offered. Zeke reminds him. Of course. Galleon assures him. Just say the word and I'll do it. He pledges his service. Make this into a sword. Zeke says, placing a box on the table. Sir, I isn't that. Galleon is shocked by the contents of the box. Inside lies a magnificent dragon's fang. Cursed light dragon Bahamut's sharpest fang, the label reads. A dragon's fang? Galleon exclaims. I've never seen one in this condition or size. He expresses his awe. Where did you get this? He asks bewildered. Tarek and Draker's second dying gift. It was this. From the heart to the fangs, he loved collecting things. Zeke explains. It's a bit complicated. Zeke says, hinting at the story behind the Fong. Galleon trembles with excitement. He is speechless. You made a magic brazier, Zeke says, looking at Galleon intently. And even gave me a chance to craft with a dragon's Fong. He adds, acknowledging Galleon's contribution. Are you okay? He asks, noticing Galleon's intense reaction. I will exceed your every expectation, Galleon declares, his eyes burning with passion. I, Galleon Halbert, he states his name with pride, will create your blade even if it costs my life. 75-76, he vows to fulfill Zeke's request. 75-76, please don't do that, Zeke says, slightly concerned. It's a bit too much for me. He adds, feeling overwhelmed by Galleon's intensity. He's still the same. Zeke smiles, recognizing Galleon's unwavering dedication. All right, I'll leave it to you. He entrusts the task to Galleon. He walks away from the workshop. I wonder what sword he'll make this time. He muses, anticipating the result of Galleon's work. I'm looking forward to it, Galleon says, his voice filled with determination as he works on the dragon's Fong. Back in his room at the Platinum Mansion, Zeke ponders the developments. It's so much work to make this sword. He thinks, considering the effort involved in crafting a weapon from a dragon's Fong. He recalls his encounter with Duke Dexter. After the duel with Duke, he muses, remembering the cryptic note he received. It's been a week since I received that note that said to come find him again. He reflects. Something should happen sooner or later. He anticipates a follow-up. Suddenly, a forceful blow knocks him to the ground. Why? He's thrown off guard. Why didn't you come, kid? Duke Dexter's voice booms. Zeke smirks. Tell me the truth. Dexter demands, his eyes blazing. He really wants to kill me. Zeke realizes the intensity of Dexter's anger. I can't believe this, Zeke says, still reeling from the sudden attack. You told me to come find you if I wanted to challenge you again. He reminds Dexter. I didn't go because I had no intentions of, he starts to explain, but Dexter cuts him off. I said to tell me the truth. Dexter emphasizes, grabbing Zeke by the collar. 9-10, he throws Zeke across the room again. Huh. Zeke is stunned by the force of the attack. Cook. He coughs, struggling to get up. It's so high. He remarks on the height he was thrown. At this height, I'll die before I have a chance to heal. He realizes the danger. He is shocked as Dexter grabs him midair. You don't have any intentions of challenging me again? Dexter questions, holding Zeke upside down. There's no way. I don't believe that you don't know my intentions. He accuses. Actually, it's most likely the reverse. He smirks. You didn't come, even after reading my message first in the treatment room, and this time too. Dexter points out Zeke's deliberate avoidance. It's almost as if you're trying to irritate me. He adds. How? Zeke is surprised. He was just playing with me. He realizes he underestimated Dexter. I'll give you 5 seconds. Dexter says, starting to count down. And you better tell me the truth this time. He warns. 5. You're funny. Zeke chuckles, despite the situation. 4. Dexter continues the countdown. 3. You haven't even revealed your true identity to me. Dexter points out. 2. Isn't that right? Zeke smirks. Garden Keeper Dexter? He reveals his knowledge of Dexter's identity. Dexter's eyes narrow. He throws Zeke across the room once more. Ow wow. Zeke groans in pain. Yeah, you're right, kid. Dexter admits. I was once a Black Knight of Draker, Dexter reveals, gently touching Zeke's head. Once? Zeke picks up on the word. Duke Draker, Dexter corrects him. For disrespecting a member of the family, and to an honorable Black Knight, Zeke begins, his voice laced with sarcasm. Allow me to apologize from the bottom of my heart. He bows his head mockingly. The hell, were you planning this? Dexter questions, surprised by Zeke's reaction. Huh. He's taken aback. I wasn't though. Shameless Zeke denies it. However, Lord Duke, you said you were once a Black Knight? Zeke inquires, changing the subject. It's not important. Dexter dismisses it. I was once a Black Knight, but no longer. He confirms. Huh. Is that possible? Zeke is confused. I'm aware that you can rise in ranks, but I never knew you could drop. He expresses his surprise. Kid, Dexter interrupts. Let's stop talking about that. He suggests, avoiding the topic. Zeke is silent for a moment. Understood. He agrees. Since you have told me the truth, Lord Duke. He begins. I will also tell the truth. He offers his honesty in return. You already knew about my identity. Zeke states, looking up at the ceiling. Did you bother me to become my official apprentice? He asks, getting to the point. Yes, that is correct. Dexter confirms. I can't believe your boldness. Dexter remarks, shaking his head. All right, he suddenly exclaims, clapping his hands together. I'll accept you as my apprentice. He declares. Huh. It was that easy. Zeke is surprised by the sudden acceptance. I better accept before he changes his mind. He thinks, quickly taking a formal stance. Duke Draker, Honorable Knight of Knights, I declare my intention to become your apprentice. Zeke formally requests to be his apprentice. Under your orders, I will gain wisdom and power to bring honor to my master's name and do my best to. He continues, reciting a formal vow. Why, you're aware of the apprentice's vow. Dexter notes, impressed. Not many people use it anymore. He adds, culture is a necessary virtue of a knight. Zeke replies with a smile. You sly snake. Dexter mutters, amused. I'll take that as a compliment. Zeke responds. However, master, may I ask one thing? Zeke asks, turning serious. It's a bit embarrassing to be called master. Dexter admits. Fine. Go ahead. He allows Zeke to ask his question. What made you accept me as your apprentice? Zeke inquires, looking out at the academy grounds. Duke was famous for not accepting apprentices. He adds, only Andre, the genius of the century, became his apprentice after years of asking. He recalls, why would he accept me so readily? He wonders, though I do have a general idea why. He admits, during the duel with Duke, he remembers, he must have seen potential that surpasses Andre. He speculates, I knew he had a good eye. He smiles. Why do you think I did? Dexter asks, turning the question back on Zeke. Guess. My apprentice. He challenges him. Isn't it because I'm a genius of the family? Zeke suggests, a hint of pride in his voice. That confidence of yours is something else. Dexter remarks, stepping back. Bahaha. Zeke laughs. If that was the case, I would have chosen the girl from the Turin family. Dexter counters. I liked your tenacity. Dexter reveals his true reason. Talent isn't the only thing you need to reach the level of a red or black knight. He explains. Actually, because those individuals never faced issues, Dexter continues, walking through a field. They fall easily in the face of adversity. He points out a flaw in those who rely solely on talent. That's true. Zeke agrees. Most praised geniuses, who were projected to reach the level of red knights, Dexter elaborates, not only fail to reach the level of red knights, but stay at the level of blue knights. He states a common occurrence. We can stop the chit-chat for now. Dexter says, turning back to Zeke. Follow me, my apprentice. He instructs. Time for your first lesson. He announces. Yes, sir. Zeke replies enthusiastically. They arrive at the Western Greenhouse Gymnasium. I never knew there was a gym underneath the greenhouse. Zeke remarks, surprised by the hidden location. What is he planning? He wonders about Dexter's intentions. I've been running since he told me, but... He thinks, recalling Dexter's earlier instructions. It's already been 3 hours. Dexter notes. He is silent. Stop! Zeke suddenly shouts. I don't have to run anymore. He asks hopefully, stopping in his tracks. Let me ask you one thing. Dexter says, turning to him. Sure, what do you know, master? Zeke replies, using his new title. Nothing much? Dexter says casually, attacking Zeke. Zeke is caught off guard, but manages to block the attack. He is pushed back by the force. Dexter hums, inspecting his hand. You have a problem with me checking your pulse? He asks. Zeke remains silent, wary. I knew something was off with you from the start. Zeke says, reflecting on their past encounters. When we fought in the healing room, when dueled in the greenhouse, and even after running around the gym for 500 laps, I didn't sense a single drop of aura from you. He lists the instances where he noticed something unusual. You even stopped me from checking your pulse. He adds, Kid, tell me, are you unable to use aura? Dexter asks directly, his eyes piercing. Zeke remains silent, observing the training equipment in the Western Greenhouse Gymnasium. I'm sure I saw that bronze statue. He thinks, recalling a detail from his previous visit. There was an uproar over that never-before-seen golden light, too. Dexter mentions, referring to Zeke's unique aura awakening. If so, Zeke begins. Why aren't you letting me examine your pulse? He pointedly asks Dexter. Dexter remains silent for a moment. It's not suspicion. He clarifies. Just simple curiosity. He explains his motive. Despite this serious situation in which a Draker can't aura, I guess his own curiosity comes first. Dexter observes. I'm lucky I'm facing Duke. You are correct, Master. He admits, confirming Dexter's suspicion. Skill, mana reflection activated. The system announces. A dark aura emanates from Zeke. I definitely have mana reflection, which is proof of my pure-blooded nature, Zeke states, demonstrating his ability. But for whatever reason, I can't use aura. He confesses his limitation. This truth will cover up my lies. Dexter says, a hint of understanding in his voice. I'm sorry for earlier. Zeke apologizes for his earlier deception, feigning sadness. If it's found out that a Draker cannot use aura, he explains his fear. Then I'll be chased out. He stammers, tears welling up in his eyes. I'm scared. He cries, putting on a convincing act. Dexter watches him, a subtle smile playing on his lips. He remains silent. He sighs. He held malice unbefitting of his age, but I guess a child is still a child. Dexter thinks, observing Zeke's act. But why is it that I can't sense any aura despite him awakening successfully? He wonders, still puzzled. He strokes his chin thoughtfully. He is silent again. That's right, Zeke says, his voice barely above a whisper. You can't be certain even after examining my pulse. He reminds Dexter. That's how absolute the blessing rite is for a Draker. He emphasizes the significance of the ceremony. Even if it's the truth that I cannot awaken to aura, Zeke begins. I think it's because he'll find a reason to deny it himself. 1920, Dexter concludes, understanding Zeke's strategy. 1920, you're an irregular. Zeke states, using the term to describe his unique condition. An irregular. Dexter repeats the word. Of course, that's his conclusion. Zeke thinks. If you aren't aware of the concept of classes, then it's natural to think that way. He explains to himself. What is that, Master? Zeke asks, feigning ignorance. Just as it sounds like, it's a term used to refer to people with anomalous abilities. Dexter explains. For example, he continues. The ability to use aura and mana together, he demonstrates by creating a small, glowing orb. Or an irrational ability, like peering into the future. He adds, referencing another example. As such, irregulars are not treated very well, so don't tell anyone about this. He warns Zeke. Then the reason why you believe I'm an irregular, Master, is because... Zeke begins to ask. You have insane stamina and recovery. Dexter finishes his sentence. However light the damage, treating internal wounds takes time. He explains. However, you recovered almost instantly. He points out Zeke's unusual healing ability. I'm sure it took an unspeakable amount of energy. He adds. What do you think that energy is? He asks. Aura? Zeke guesses. Because it's being constantly consumed in exchange for stamina and regeneration, Zeke elaborates. There's barely any left to sense. Is my hypothesis. He explains his reasoning. Huh. Dexter is impressed. That's quite plausible. He concedes. If so, then will I never be able to use aura? Zeke asks, a hint of concern in his voice. I guess I won't be able to meet your expectations, Master. He expresses his disappointment. Ha ha ha. Dexter laughs. Don't you worry about that. He reassures Zeke. My Gale Arts is a special art that doesn't use aura. He reveals. Fundamentally, a special art is a special technique personally developed by a knight that has reached great heights. He explains. Normally, it's an application or specialization of dragon slaying, so it would be proper to use aura, he continues. But my Gale Arts uses only a trained body. He clarifies. I'll show you a demonstration, so watch closely. He offers, walking towards the center of the arena. He stomps his foot, creating a shockwave. Zeke's eyes widen in surprise. Dexter moves with incredible speed, leaving after images in his wake. He then comes to a sudden stop. Did you see that? He asks, turning to Zeke. Is it fine if I follow your footsteps? Zeke asks, eager to learn. Then will you be fine if I don't show you again? Dexter challenges him. Yes, that's enough. Zeke replies confidently. Ha! Dexter is impressed. Your confidence is that of a black rank, at least. He compliments Zeke. Yeah, give it a go. He encourages him. Zeke mimics Dexter's stance. He focuses, his eyes sharp. He bursts into motion, attempting to replicate Dexter's movements. 41, 42. Now that I'm directly mimicking his movements, I can see things I couldn't before. He realizes, gaining a deeper understanding of the technique. It's clear these steps were taken as if he were sparring against someone. He observes. To attack, to dodge an attack, to close the distance, and to increase it. Each and every step has a purpose behind it. He analyzes the intricacies of the Gale arts. He attempts to follow Dexter's path but stumbles. I don't believe it, he mutters, surprised by the difficulty. It's not like he wasn't gifted a week ago, he remembers. But he wasn't this good. He compares his current performance to his previous one. Just what happened during that 1 week? He wonders, frustrated by his lack of progress. There's a big difference between our strides. He notes. The difference is like heaven and earth. Dexter remarks, observing Zeke's struggles. He's perfect. He thinks, impressed by Zeke's potential. Is this much enough for me to have the confidence of a black rank? Zeke asks, a hint of arrogance in his voice. If he could just stop acting so arrogant, that is. Dexter thinks, slightly annoyed. You brat. He addresses Zeke. You were just crying your eyes out, and now look at you. He teases him. Why you're not going to go spreading that around, are you? Zeke asks, embarrassed. That depends on your attitude, my arrogant disciple. Dexter replies, a playful glint in his eye. What kind of black knight has such a loose tongue? Zeke retorts. Later, in the academy dining hall, Zeke enjoys a hearty meal. It's already been a month since Duke started training me. He reflects, savoring the food. My appetite just keeps on increasing. He notes. He notices someone approaching. Could you spare me some time, Zeke Draker? Andre asks, standing before him. Andre? Zeke is surprised. I'm a bit busy, so if here is all right, sure. Zeke replies, continuing to eat. Very well then. Andre accepts. How did you convince Sir Dexter? Andre asks, getting straight to the point. He's getting right to it, huh? Zeke thinks. Well, since he's become Duke's disciple yet, Zeke begins to explain. The news that I've become his disciple likely made him a bit anxious. He speculates. I didn't really do anything? Zeke says, answering Andre's question. Sir Dexter just picked me out on his own. He adds. Andre stares at him intently. He is silent. A pureblood, is it? Zeke asks, noticing Andre's gaze. Huh. He is caught off guard. Andre sets down his fork. You have quite the inferiority complex. He remarks, his eyes flashing. Is that all you have to say, cadet? Andre asks, his voice. No. Zeke replies. I'm not even halfway through. He adds. Of course, he continues. Even if the reason he took interest in me to begin with is my bloodline, do you believe Sir Dexter is a man that would? He questions Andre's judgment. Pick a disciple for such a simplistic reason? He challenges him. The fact that I was able to use that as a foundation to become his disciple, Zeke asserts, is a testament to my own abilities. He declares, confidently meeting Andre's gaze. Instead of wasting your time patting your ego with that inferiority complex of yours, he advises Andre. In order to be chosen yourself, how about putting in some effort? He suggests, leaving Andre speechless. Back in the Western Greenhouse arena, Zeke lands a kick on the ground. What is this, master? He asks, looking at Dexter. That's what I want to ask. Dexter replies. I don't know what got into him, Andre's subordinate mentions, watching from the sidelines. But he came begging me, saying he's fine with being a servant if he can stay at my side. He explains. I said I'd take him in if he could run 300 laps without aura, which is how he ended up like that. Dexter reveals the challenge he set for Andre. 300 laps, all without aura? Zeke is astonished. Ha! Dexter sighs. He sure is a tenacious one. He remarks. I thought he was just a self-righteous nerd. He admits, surprised by Andre's determination. Andre continues to struggle, his breathing ragged. But he has quite the backbone, huh? He observes. The scene shifts, showing a trash can filled with discarded items. A formal event is taking place at the academy. What's going on? Of all the students. A voice says. You idiot. Another voice scolds. Did you forget what day today is? He asks. It's the day of the patriarch's visit. He exclaims. The sound of horses approaching echoes in the air. A luxurious carriage adorned with the Draker family crest comes into view. The patriarch is entering. A man announces in a booming voice. Get ready, everyone. An older man with a neatly trimmed mustache instructs. Yes, sir. The students respond in unison. The carriage comes to a halt. Guards in shining armor stand at attention. A figure with white hair steps out of the carriage. "It's good to see you again, Howard." He greets the dean. "I greet the master of the Drakers." Howard bows respectfully. "We greet the master of the Drakers." The students and staff echo, their voices resounding across the courtyard. The sound of a clock tower chiming fills the air. 11:12. A gloved hand reaches out as the patriarch, Arthur Draker, steps forward. "You're always so hard-working." Howard compliments him. "It's nothing compared to the work you do, sir." Arthur replies modestly. "You're the only one who truly understands." Arthur says, a hint of warmth in his golden eyes. "The sunlight is rather hot today. Why don't we go and see?" Howard begins to suggest, but he's interrupted. "Huh? It's the patriarch." "What? Where?" Students exclaim, noticing Arthur's presence. Arthur turns his gaze towards the students, his hand shielding his eyes from the sun. "Young Dragonslayers," he addresses them. "You are the hope and future of the Drakers." He declares, "Train hard and train more." He encourages them. "Your development will be the Drakers' development." He states, his voice filled with conviction. "Yes, sir. Master of the Drakers." The students roar in response. "Let's go in now," Arthur suggests, turning towards the academy building. "Of course, sir." Howard agrees. Later, inside the academy, Zeke formally greets Arthur. "I, Zeke Draker, greet the leader of all knights and the guardian of the name of the Dragonslayer, with all respect." 24:25, he bows deeply. 24:25, ha ha ha, Arthur laughs. "No one does their greetings like that anymore." He remarks. "It's fine." He gestures for Zeke to rise. "Have a seat." He offers. "I heard you like tea." He continues. "I prepared something rare. I hope it'll be to your liking." He presents a selection of delicacies. "Thank you." Zeke replies, accepting the offer. "Even the food I like is being reported to him?" Zeke thinks, slightly unnerved. There is a saying that there may be things that the Emperor doesn't know, he reflects. But that there will never be anything that a Draker does not. He remembers a common saying. That saying feels real now. He thinks, realizing the extent of the Draker family's influence. "I called for you to come because..." Arthur begins, sipping his tea. "I heard that Duke actually took in a disciple." He reveals the purpose of the meeting. He's getting straight to the point. Zeke thinks, taking a sip of his own tea. "Haha." He forces a laugh. "He did me a great favor," he says, choosing his words carefully. "Indeed." Arthur agrees. "That is true." He adds. "I do not know what your goal is," Arthur continues. "But if you continue to follow Duke's teachings," he begins to say, "it's to become the strongest man on the continent." Zeke interrupts, boldly declaring his ambition. Arthur's eyes widen slightly, then narrow. "I will become stronger than everyone," Zeke asserts, his gaze unwavering, "so that I can live just as freely." He adds. He takes a bite of a pastry. "That is my goal," he states, confidently. He casually leans back in his chair. Then, Arthur begins, a hint of challenge in his voice. "You mean to surpass even me?" he says, his aura flaring. "Cook." Zeke chokes, feeling the pressure of Arthur's power. "Is that..." He struggles to speak. "Astral sword?" He recognizes the technique. "It's said to give you power over all living beings within its radius." He thinks, recalling what he knows about the legendary skill, thus making it the pinnacle of aura usage that only Black Knights can reach. He realizes the significance of Arthur's display. Arthur's eyes gleam. "Of course," Zeke manages to say, despite the crushing pressure. Arthur smiles faintly. The pressure intensifies. "That's the most interesting thing I've heard in ages," Arthur remarks, seemingly impressed. "So this is..." Zeke thinks. "The patriarch of the Drakers." He realizes the true extent of Arthur's power. "I have come to support both the Academy and you," Arthur says, changing the subject. "But I don't think that'll be enough," he adds, looking intently at Zeke. "And a real Black Knight," Zeke thinks, feeling a surge of excitement. "I thought Duke was impossibly strong," he reflects. "But this guy is on a whole other..." He's cut off by his own thoughts. He pauses. Arthur hands him a small, ornate box. "This is a gift for having become Duke's disciple." He explains. "That's..." Zeke recognizes the object. "A black card," he states, his voice filled with surprise. "Pardon," he exclaims, unable to contain his shock. "It seems like you already know what it is," Arthur observes. "A credit card only given to a very select few." Zeke describes the card. I didn't think that I'd get to see one in person. He admits, just having this with you gives you incredible benefits, and it doesn't even have a limit. He explains the card's value. I'll have it under both our names, so you can use it freely. Arthur says, offering the card to Zeke. Thank you. I will use it only when necessary. Zeke accepts gratefully. He's making it seem like he's being nice, but his intentions are too obvious. Zeke thinks, analyzing Arthur's motives. Using a credit card leaves a record. He realizes. He just wants to keep track of what I'm doing. He concludes. But if this is his method instead of opting for the Black Marshal Squad, he considers. That means he doesn't see me as a threat yet. He realizes. I shouldn't waste more of your time, as I'm sure you're busy with training to become the strongest on the continent. Arthur says, a hint of sarcasm in his voice. You are excused. He dismisses Zeke. Yes, Master of the Drakers. Zeke replies, bowing respectfully. Zeke leaves the room. 58-59, HAA. Arthur sighs, leaning back in his chair. 60-61, you're sickening. Duke Dexter says, entering the room. Why are you so angry, Duke? Arthur asks. You're suddenly playing father for that kid after you neglected him this whole time? Dexter questions, his voice laced with disapproval. You know that I have no choice as the head of the household. Arthur replies, his expression serious. What you just said counts as defamation of my character. He warns. Ha! Take me away then. Dexter challenges him, sitting down casually. You're the only one I can talk to without worries. Arthur says, a hint of fondness in his voice. He offers Dexter a drink. Dexter is surprised. Oh! He exclaims, taking the bottle. Dragon breath. It's the red one too. He recognizes the rare liquor. You really do have good taste when it comes to drinks. He compliments Arthur. You know that the atmosphere in the continent has been rather strange lately, right? Arthur asks, changing the subject. I've been cooped up in the academy. Dexter replies. How am I supposed to know that? He asks, taking a swig of the drink. You have eyes and ears all over the place. Arthur points out. So you asked when you already know my answer? Dexter asks, raising an eyebrow. You snake. He adds. Ha, he sighs. The Emperor has gone crazy over the idea of immortality and is looking all over the entire continent. Arthur reveals a crucial piece of information. True. Dexter agrees. Do you think it's possible? Arthur asks. As if. Dexter scoffs. Magic can make you young, but immortality is not possible. He dismisses the idea. I think the same. Arthur agrees. However, he pauses. What if the relic he's looking for is something related to the Elder Dragon? He suggests. What? Dexter is shocked.